Good morning, everybody. Please come to the table. Welcome to Workforce Connections. We are going to get started. We want to be respectful of your time. If there's folks coming in, we'll welcome as they go. Usually in these meetings, we save the introductions for the working lunch again because we're following a model that's pretty strict and also very well nationally recognized. It's called the Next Generation Sector Partnerships Model. And it's a model that has basically two sessions of 90 minutes. One of is an extraction and intelligent extraction sections, which is how we're going to start. We're going to be asking you for your short, mid, and long-term needs when it comes to talent development. Then we're going to have a working lunch, and then we'll have the second 90-minute session, which is really about pairing the problems that the challenges that we identified for collective action and kind of putting some potential solutions to them. In other words, what would you like Southern Nevada's talent development pipeline to do for you? And that includes, it starts importantly with the school district, Clark County School District, but it goes also post-secondary through all of our other talent or skill acquisition partners, the universities, the community college, vocational trades, all those things. So with that being said, today, also another different thing is we're launching two sectors at the same time. We've launched three so far: healthcare, manufacturing, and tech. And today we're launching transportation and logistics and clean technologies. Kind of an experiment. Why? Because we have found out in the previous three launches that these challenges, we haven't written them down for you because we want to see if it's going to be the same on these, have been really about the same, very similar challenges in the short, mid, and long term when it comes to talent, your needs for talent. So we got you both here together, two sectors. On this side, we have the folks from the clean technologies and how the LVGA Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy defines that as, again, it can be anything from solar, wind, conservation of water, tons of things, recycling. And so those definitions are pretty broad. And then on this side, we have the employers from the transportation and logistics, which, as the name says, mobility, transportation, everybody knows what that is. Logistics, of course, what today we hear a lot about the Amazons and the Fanatics and all these things about moving product from manufacturing all the way to the retail store. So with that, welcome. My name is Jaime Cruz. I represent Workforce Connections. We are Southern Nevada's local workforce development board. But this effort is not ours. This effort, again, was born out of the need. The LVGA, our regional development agency, as you know, they're out there marketing our region, and they put out these 7 target sectors as an effort to diversify our economy and grow our economic base. And also the chambers of commerce, the Vegas Chamber, Urban, Latin Asian, and GOED. I saw GOED. Hi, Stacy. Stacy walked in here. We all partnered to do the Southern Nevada's Workforce Blueprint, which we'll share with you a little later. And again, that is about fostering really these 7 industry sector partnerships. This, if you will, effort is to help cement the foundation and start with what do you need for workforce and what can we do to help you. So with that, before we start the 90, because I want to say one thing again, this is the most hopefully you're going to hear us speak, because really we're here to hear you speak. So we want to hear your voice over the next 90 minutes. Then we're going to do a working lunch where we do introductions, and then we're going to hear you again to be hopefully a part of how we craft the solutions. But before we have, let's see, today, 2 sponsors for our lunch. We have the RTC, and MJ just walked out, huh? She got a, I was going to call it. MJ probably got a call. So we have the RTC sponsoring our lunch, along with also NV Energy. So please give them a hand. I see Trudy here. Give them a hand. So without further ado, I guess since MJ is not here, why don't we go ahead and get started? Give me the first slide after this. This is our Workforce Blueprint, which you can find again at workforceblueprint.org. So we're going to jump right into it and start to ask you, let's define your talent needs. And you think about it first, you as a single employer, but also as the industry. If you have colleagues who are not here, but you know of their challenges, this is where we're going to talk about them. So we're going to try to get from you your short, mid, and long term. We're going to dedicate about 20 minutes to each one. We're going to have 2 folks over here getting ideas from you, folks from the transportation and logistics sector. And we have 2 folks over here getting ideas from you. And when I say ideas, we want you to write a single challenge in a piece of paper, and we're going to start with the green color. And so go ahead and start writing down. I'll give you an example. What is he talking about? Well, again, some of the one that we heard a lot of, and we expect to hear today, is I just can't find warm bodies today. I need, I have openings for A, B, C position, and we just cannot find enough candidates, enough qualified workers for that position. That's something we heard a lot in the short term. Another thing that we've heard is also, if I find somebody, they're perhaps certificate ready, but not real world ready. And so that was another thing we heard in the short term. So there are some ideas. Who has one already that we can put here on the board, and we can start to maybe foster some conversation, some dialogue? Let me see Trudy's. Yeah, so we're not surprised, and I think we here you go. Put Trudy from MV Energy put qualified labor. Again, this is something we've seen across the 3 sectors that we've launched so far. What do you have here? Yeah, same thing. Qualified candidates.
Same thing.
Yeah, you don't have to write if it's the same thing, but it's hopefully to foster some dialogue amongst you with. So if you're thinking about just can't find them, can anybody share with us? Do you have challenges with the way you recruit them? In other words, meaning in the past, I worked for MGM for 20 years. And when I came to the public workforce system, I never thought I'd be a bureaucrat, but here I am. I remember that the last thing I wanted to do when I was at MGM was go to Clark County to get a permit or deal with government. I mean, it's just like going to the DMV, right? Are they here? Hopefully not. But one thing that I've known is that times have changed. One of our best friends right now is MGM, again, because they told us that they, even though they have a multi-million-dollar HR machine, tons of people, their recruitment efforts were just not being as productive as they were typically. And so one of the things that we work with them on is a series of animated videos that basically take job descriptions and digitize them in 60 seconds. So what does a housekeeper do? What does a lifeguard do? And those little animated videos got more hits than their usual posts or things that they use in their traditional methods of outreach. And so they love us now. But that's just an example of, again, maybe you can share with us or dive down a little deeper about your short-term needs. Is it that your existing processes are not working? Anybody have anything like that to share? Hi, Brian. Yes. We need somebody to be handling the mic back here.
Mike, all him?
Yeah, we want you to talk into the mic because we're recording it for employers who couldn't be here. Thank you.
So, good morning. My name is Brenda Jones, and I represent MV Transportation. I'm actually the community outreach recruiter for MV. Obviously, in transportation, we all went through what COVID had done for all of the industries. It's just not transportation, but it was every facet of everything that was going on. And so one of our short-term, as the city began to open back up, we had a great need for drivers. People started to go back to work. Schools started to open back up again. So one thing that we did do is we started out with a pretty hefty sign-on bonus. So we thought that that would attract, some talent. It would also get more people into coming in as a walk-in. We also work really well with Dieter. I have developed a great relationship with Nevada Partners and Nevada Job Connect and Workforce Connection and One Stop Career Center. So all of these avenues have been very instrumental for us. But of course, the sign-on bonus was just a really short-term plan. As things begin to develop, that we did take away the sign-on bonus just recently. We still have the referral bonus, but it's always going to be just a real challenge to get the right person for the right job. And Dieter has done a great job in really starting to vet the right people to bring the right talent into MV. We also work with a lot of organizations thinking outside of the box, Hope for Prisoners, Chosen for Success. A lot of the things that typically people think we're not going to go there, we're open up to anything that we possibly can to attract the right talent for the position.
Thank you, Brenda. And we're gonna do something new. Hang on, Jake. Brenda tell us who you're with, Brenda, and your function.
I am MV Transportation, and I am the community outreach recruiter
Great. And MV is one of the contractors for.
for the RTC.
Very good for public transportation. Thank you. And I know I introduced. I said 2 names, so let's go to MJ for a second so she can introduce herself and her team. Jake over here. Can I have the mic for MJ?
Thanks, Javi. And I won't be able to stay all day, but I did want to stop by in recognition of just the important conversation that everyone's having today. So my name is MJ Maynard. I'm the CEO for the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. We have great partners in Brendan MV, as well as Cecil and Keels. They operate our fixed route system. Today, amazing staff. I've got Francis Julian on the end. He's a deputy CEO. Cindy Carter's our senior director over, I think, most of the agency. And Alan Hayes is our director of fleet maintenance. And really, Cindy and Alan are the ones that are in it with working closely with Keolis, Cecil, and with Brenda in terms of identifying. It's the operational side, right? It is where are the gaps? Certainly, the responsibility of hiring the drivers is something that MV and Keolis do. That's their job. That's what we pay them to do. But we also try to assist where we can financially in terms of our board was able to use some of the stimulus money that we received to provide to our contractors to use for signing bonuses and retention bonuses. But to Brenda's point, that really is a short-term fix. I think we were all waiting, the pandemic, when it ended and stimulus checks where we thought were spent, we're like, okay, where is everybody? Because they're not sitting at home. They're not at home collecting stimulus checks. That's just not the things have changed, and there is a new normal. And I think we all have to be really creative in how we address this ongoing labor shortage, because we are not providing the type of service today that we know we should be to our community. And I'll just say before I pass this along, because I said to Jaime, what are we talking about today? Can I just say this? I don't think people are aware here in Southern Nevada, the RTC, pre-pandemic, we were the 12th, that's the 12th busiest bus system in the United States. 70%. So if you don't take public transit, many people think, oh, it's just poor people that take public transit. That is not true. 70%, we just had a recent survey, 70% of the folks who use public transit are employees. We are connecting employees to employers. And we are part of the economic ecosystem in the community. I don't think we've done a good job of telling that story. So we can talk about employees today and how do we identify potential employees, how do we retain potential employees, but you all need to worry too about how are they getting to your front doors? Because here in Southern Nevada, we were the hospitality engine. So a lot of hospitality jobs, a lot of people use public transit, retail, manufacturing, Amazon, et cetera. Those are the kind of jobs that are here right now in Southern Nevada. And many of those employees rely on public transit to get to where they need to go. So if you're curious, you should ask some of your staff if any of them use public transit. Our system isn't as robust as it should be considering our population. We haven't invested in public transit in over 20 years, but we are that integrator. So we are proud to ensure that once you identify your employees and your future employees, how can we help you get them to your front door? And I'll pass it along.
No, thank you, MJ. Would you please write down on a green paper mobility as a workforce challenge, because we need to explore that. Let's introduce the rest of the members of your team, Alan, Cindy, and Francis. Who you are and your function.
Good morning. My name is Alan Hayes.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Alan Hayes, maintenance director for the RTC, and have been in the maintenance for over 35 years. And what I can tell you about the current workforce is that sadly it is aging in the maintenance fields. Younger individuals were not interested in getting dirty or greasy. And this is creating a huge glut for us in the industry, not just for RTC, our contractors, but also NV Energy, any of the Southwest Gas, any of the larger.
I'm going to change the mic. Sorry.
Oh,
keep going.
Okay, so there we go. I can hear it now. So hopefully everybody heard me in the beginning saying who I was. But what I was trying to get to, obviously, maintenance is a skill set that many young people have been more interested in modern technology. And I think we all know about this. However, it's creating a huge glut for us. And these are very exciting jobs because the starting mechanic can make $50,000 a year. That's the average of a 4-year degree today. And they don't necessarily have the same student loans that they may be facing that they had they had gone to higher education. So we're really looking to try and expand on how we reach out to younger people. How do we get K through 12 interested in maintenance as a career field? Because I can tell you this. In my previous life, I had probably 25% of my workforce making over $100,000 a year. And that was after only 10 years being in the field. So there's a lot of opportunity, and it's not just here, it's across the nation. So this is a definite conversation to be having.
Alan, before we go to Cindy, do me a favor and write down here career pathways through the K through 12 system, because it's going to come up today, and you just touched on it. So, Cindy.
Wow, how do I follow up these two, right? No, hi, everybody. Cindy Carter, Senior Director of Fixed Route Services for the RTC. I oversee both fixed route contracts and operations, so work closely, as MJ mentioned, with Keolis and MV, as well as safety security for our agency as well. To kind of, I'll say, right on the tails a little bit of Alan, in looking at that younger workforce, right, where we do have a lot of operators who are retiring, right. One, I'll say, not issue, but kind of an issue, is that we're seeing where the younger workforce, they aren't looking at the big picture. They're not looking at longevity, right? From our perspective, we were looking at careers, right, that we wanted to stay in for many, many years and build off that and have like that loyalty to a certain degree to an agency or company or field, right? That we're not seeing that with the younger market today. So that has also been a struggle because they're there for a few months, 6 months. You look at resumes, you look at their job histories, and they're never there for very long, right? And so it's kind of like they're like, yep, this is good for now, but they're not looking at it in the big picture for their future. So with that, I'll turn it over to Francis.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy. And I'm Francis Julian. I'm the Deputy CEO for the RTC. So I'm fortunate to work with Alan and Cindy and our contractors that are here. I'm overseeing facilities as well, HR for the agency. Maybe not to take too much time, but just to piggyback on a couple of points that are really important. So we're talking about attracting people, but I think one of the big issue as well is retention. How we need to be creative in the way that we retain the workforce, because we're seeing we've seen some success stories of our contractors getting a lot of people through the door. Retaining the workforce is a huge issue. The second point, and just like MJ, I won't be able to stay all day, but I'm hopeful that Alan is going to speak to this. The second point that's really important in my view is tackling the new technology. So at the RTC, we're actually soon going to have hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. So they're electric vehicles, but with hydrogen fuel cell technology, and then battery electric vehicles. Right now, the workforce and the pathway to those technology and the training is non-existent. So we're actually starting to work really hard to make sure that there's a pathway, and I'm sure that either Keolis or Alan today is going to share a program we had with CSN that was really successful of internship of mechanics, where it's a paid internship. To really try to revive that pipeline.
Thank you, Francis. Is CSN here, George? I know they have their IAC today, the Institutional Advisory Council, but I haven't seen anybody here. So they're usually here along with CCSD, which is again where we start those career pathways, Francis, and curriculum development. But I think I've heard you loud and clear, as I think that's the common theme also through our industries, that as new technologies, automation on the strip take place, our talent development pipeline has to match it. And that's one of the reasons this conversation is taking place. So thank you. I'm going to, I guess, give a fair warning. If part of this model is if you're not talking, we're going to come and get you. So make sure you volunteer before we come and get you. But here I'm going to read a couple of the short terms to ask for a little more clarity. Somebody wrote down, it's the first time I hear it, finding qualified candidates, which we all, but to be instructors. And I want to hear a little bit more about that. Does that mean to be instructors in your, is it Ash? Okay.
Thank you very much. So my name is Ash Zare. I'm the general manager for CAE in Las Vegas. So CAE is a high-tech company. What we do is, I don't know if you've heard the term digital twin, but we simulate the physical world in virtual reality. And we are in three segments: healthcare, defense and security, and aviation. The center that I'm running here in Las Vegas is for training pilots for business jets, which you've seen, around the airports. So it's interesting because the business I moved here 3 months ago, actually, from Canada, and before that I was in South Korea doing a similar thing, training pilots for airlines in South Korea. So we in Las Vegas, it's interesting because we are starting the business ground up. So we're literally building the facility. I'm going to get my certificate of occupancy in a week, and I have hired already 50 people, and I'm going to be hiring another 50 in the next 6 months. So the challenge that I have faced is, in terms of finding candidates. So I look at two. So one is pilots, and the other one are administrative, roles, or you could say technical roles. So on the pilot side of the house, I mean, everybody has heard of the pilot shortage, right? Especially during the pandemic, a lot of them were let go, and now you're trying to hire them back, but a lot of them have found new jobs. So in our industry, the instructors are pilots. So we are tapping into the same pool of resources. Since as long as there's a pilot shortage, I'm going to be short on instructors. So the way we have tackled that is I have to move people from, let's say, California, retired pilots who used to fly for United or for Southwest, and move them to Nevada, which a lot of them are very happy to do, moving away from California, and then have them instruct. And on the, I finish on this point, on the administrative side, just hiring HR and finance and customer services roles. So those have been fine. But on the technical side, like finding engineers who will have to maintain my big machines, the full flight simulators, that's been a challenge. But we work with, I think the Nellis Air Base here has been a good kind of opportunity for me to find good qualified people there too.
Thank you for sharing those challenges with us, because I think, let me say a couple of things. The blueprint you saw up there identifies 100 top in-demand occupations, of which pilot is one of them. But part of what's happening through those conversations, I'm hearing it already, it's how do we get to the young K through 12 pipeline? Well, I'm happy to tell you guys, probably in a week or two, that workforce blueprint has been converted to language an elementary school age kid can understand. So it's a 20-page coloring book that has 10 characters, one of which is a pilot, but there's engineers and other things as well in there. We'll send it to you as soon as it's ready to go. But it's, again, a result of hearing and saying we want these needs embedded as early as possible. So not to wait till it's high school, but here to say to a young person, what about pilot? What about simulator? What about engineer that take care of the equipment? Talk to the families. They can take that coloring book home and present more resources so that in middle school, they connect a little bit at a different higher level. And then one of the things that we've heard very clearly from these groups of employers are, we want to be able to be really connected with the high schools in the sense that the high school students that we gave coloring books to in elementary, and we connected with in middle school through visits to their middle school, now in high school come to our facilities. And so that's part of what's happening through these meetings. We're working again with CCSD on that and other initiatives. So thank you, Ash, for sharing. I'm going to ask for a little clarity on this next one. And we're introducing ourselves as we talk today, because again, you were a quiet group, so I had to switch and be like, how are we going to get them to talk? But I heard here something, education of community in advance of the needs. I'd like to hear a little bit more clarity about what you mean by that. It was on this side right here. Okay, Trudy, go ahead. Is that mic on? Can you check, Bill, please?
Okay, better.
There you go. Thank you.
Trudy Hasler, NV Energy. That was me. One of the things that we found is that it's kind of touching on what you just mentioned. Our community and our parents don't know what is available. And so we get into the schools, we do career days, we do the construction day, we get out there and we educate. But the kids go home and their parents are not necessarily aware of the opportunities, or they have a negative stigma around a union or the work, or it's too hazardous. Again, NV Energy, we're doing a lot of work around electricity. There's a union involved. And so part of the work that we're doing now is trying to educate the parents at the same time as the students, working on how to get rid of the stigma, but also, I want to touch on, I love the conversation about researching pilots. I think it's kind of all tied in together. It's trying to recruit the future talent that we need. I tell my granddaughter she can be whatever she wants to be, but that comes with a caveat that you've got to have the aptitude for the work. Not everyone's going to climb a pole. Not everyone's going to work heavy line. My husband's a mechanic. Not everyone has the aptitude for the work. So it's a fine line of education and getting parents and students on the front end to understand where their skill sets are. Where are they a tinkerer? Are they someone who likes to work in a book and do papers? So that educational piece of education, I think, has to start not only in the schools, it's got to get to the community, to the parents, especially to our underserved communities where they don't have access to that. Where you have parents who've been in the culinary field, which I respect totally. My father was a janitor for a long part of my life. There's people who do cooking, cleaning. That's what their family knows. They don't know what other opportunities. So you can't get your kids to get excited if you go educate the parents. So that's kind of what my comment referred to.
Thank you for that clarity. I'll let you know that you're we are hearing you loud and clear. And let me give you some examples. I think you all know, or some of you know, that Workforce Connections as the local board has kind of left the common mold, which is to open our retail stores, as you see next door, our one-stop center on a popular bus route. I'm sorry, what did I say? Bus route across from a community college. That's a great thing. But if you've been paying attention, we've also now have these one-stops or American Job Centers at public libraries across the valley, chambers of commerce, community colleges, because we might be here, but we weren't at the North Las Vegas or Henderson Community College, so we're there now. And most importantly, we were not only the first one to have a location at a Chamber of Commerce, we're also the first region in the nation to have an American Job Center, or one of these places where this information is supposed to happen, where it's supposed to connect young people and families to these opportunities at a school. So the Clark County School District just opened the, I think it's called Central Career Technical Academy, or CCTA, on the site of the old Bishop Foreman High School. And if you go there, they have a community center with lots of resources, of which we're a part of, because that school was built to be not just a entry point or a place for young people to discover everything we're talking about from 8 to 3, but that school is also designed to be open from 3 to the evening for the families, to your point, Trudy, for the families to be familiar. So this information about how do we connect is happening, should be happening, and it's going to be happening more and more in the schools, in the libraries, and also other community centers that we're working to move in for that very reason. So yesterday, if you would have been here in this room, we had our local elected officials that govern this agency and our board members, some of which are here. We're going to introduce them in a second, approve additional funding to do just that, Trudy, additional funding to make sure that the services we're providing is reaching youth and their families at the same time. So I'll let Cecil talk about more of that when we introduce him. So thank you for the clarity on this. How are we doing? Who's keeping track of the 20 minutes on short?
Yeah, we're probably ready to move on.
Okay, so before we move on, I want to introduce a couple more people. So I'm going to start right here and pick on Mary since she's been quiet. So Mary, introduce yourself and tell us your function at the
Yeah.
Vegas Water.
So Mary Madden, I'm the HR director at the Water District and the Water Authority. Been there almost 17 years, started in legal and then moved over into HR about 8 years ago. So it's interesting. I've heard, and I'll say that I kind of agree, our issues right now are really getting people who want to start at kind of the entry level and get their hands dirty. And so that is really the area right now. We have a lot of applicants. We get them in, they start working, we train them, and then a lot of them move on. What we've tried to do at the Water District is develop a mentorship program within our organization and really start focusing people on, if this isn't for you, let's find something else within the organization that you can work towards. That's been helpful. It's been somewhat successful, but I do agree with everything that's been said here today in terms of some of the challenges of getting people in.
Great. Well, Mary,
Yeah.
thank you for being here, and we're looking forward to hearing your
Yeah,
input here.
Definitely.
Brian, introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Thornton, the Vice President for Republic Service, responsible for the Las Vegas market, A to Z. And then I'm honored to be here this afternoon. So thanks, Amy and team, for the invite. And just like everyone else, it's a challenge. We're in the environmental service industry. You think about our recycle facility, where it's kind of an entry level job, and you're doing sorting on the front line, and it's tough work, right? Working in 100 degrees inside of a facility, and we try and make it as comfortable as possible for our employees and do everything we can there. But more importantly, when you think about when you go to our landfill and the operators, and you kind of be an engineer to operate a dozer and that type of equipment. But more importantly, to work on that equipment, mechanical, right? So you think about our yellow iron, which is at our landfill, and then our blue iron. I think most of everybody see that truck once. Hopefully, you see that truck at your house a couple times a week, providing service for you. We're looking for technicians there, and then the operators for that equipment. So that's some of the challenges we have, and looking forward to hearing more and how we can support, with this endeavor here.
Brian, thank you. Before I ask you to pass the mic, I want to give you your next assignment as we transition to the midterm challenges. Again, think about and start to write on an orange piece of paper, one single challenge, or several pieces of paper if you like, with several ideas. But we need you to hear from you. Think about the midterm. We've talked about the short term. Actually, we talked about a little bit more than that, because we started to talk about, hey, how can we connect to the K through 12, and that can be mid to long term. But there's other midterm issues that we've heard, and I don't want to give them to you because I guess we try not to influence you, but and they have to do with, trainings or skill acquisition that take 3, 6, 9 months. We've heard different things, different challenges that are not necessarily today, but they are about the next few months. Once it passes a year and a half and a 2, we're thinking more long term. But so think about your workforce challenges, and that midterm, we're going to start collecting them from you. If you could pass the mic, I want to hear who you are and your function at your agency.
Hi, I'm Laura Hansen, and I'm here on behalf of Steve Amelia, and I'm with SolUp. And he just wanted me to mention, I guess, a couple of the challenges that we're having is finding skilled installers and electricians. I think we have a high turnover for those.
Awesome. We look forward to hearing more from you in detail. So let's hear from Tina.
Hi, everyone. Tina Ao from Southwest Gas. I am a recruiter, and I actually support the field operations in our 5 divisions. We actually struggle finding engineers. We have a lot of growth within the company, so we tend to move our engineers up until higher levels. So finding that entry level in all 5 divisions.
Thank you, Tina, for being here. So before we go to Keith, I want to say that I've heard you right there describe one of our what we would call our longer term initiatives, meaning, if you want to have engineers that are going to end up at UNLV or other places here, sometimes they're going to go through CSN if they need a 2-year, if they want to go that route. But they have to, what we've heard is, they have to know about that and prepare for it before high school, middle school, again. And so how do we make sure that Southwest Gas and others that have the same challenge are meaningfully connected to our partners at the school district? And they're here. We have Tristan and Ryan here. And let me mention another thing about this model. I'm very grateful because our skill acquisition partners in this model are have to remain in listening mode, as we said earlier. They're there listening to all your needs, and there's going to be a moment in a time where they come in and are part of the solution to kind of devise what you need as employers. But right now, they're just hearing and abiding by these rules of the model. And so, but I can tell you again that this is something that's already in motion. So I'm glad you're here, and you're going to hopefully be a part of the solution. So let me ask for clarity on a couple of these midterms that we've received so far. Who wrote this one? It says, we need to educate counselors at the schools. And I picked this one because, again, our partners at CCSD are here, and we need teacher externs. Who was this? Oh, Trudy again. All right, Trudy.
Sorry, I've been doing this too long. One of the things that I've been talking to CCSD about is getting the counselors together so that the counselors understand what the needs of the community are, the employer needs are. Our counselors do a good job, but they can only do a good job when they know what's needed. And so for them to come in, one of the things that the school district has done is set up teacher extern programs in the summer where they can come into your workplace. And I know that GoEn had done the same thing. And I really think that's a missing element, that it's kind of hard to go teach the students when you don't know what's going on in the community and what the needs are. So that's one of the reasons I wrote that.
Thank you, Trudy. I'll let you know. Cecil heard about this yesterday at our board meeting. We have, again, partnered with our school district to create something called the Workforce Fellows. And there are some of the top counselors in their system are enrolling. And what it is to create another asset, a human asset at the schools, the high schools, to do exactly what you said, to create that connectivity to their middle school feeder schools and elementary schools, to these kinds of efforts. So we've now, I think we're up to 11 graduates of that program. I know it sounds small when you have 50 high schools, but we had to start somewhere. So I think our target for this next session that starts, I think, in a month is another 10 or 11. And so we will double that, and then hopefully, again, get to every high school as soon as possible. But I'm glad to hear that the needs we're hearing about today are things that we're not sleeping on, that things are happening. And we'll keep informing you of that. Let me hear from Keith before I share.
Chief Jackson, Economic Development. Part of my job is to bring businesses to the state of Nevada. But you know what we continually hear from these businesses that are looking at it, you've already talked about it, is skilled workforce. Yeah, I think they're willing to train, but the foundation has to be a skill set, right? Someone mentioned instructors. That's definitely something that we have to work on. The other side is I have a daughter that just graduated. I've tried to talk her into coming back to Las Vegas or Nevada, and she's in California. She loves California, which I don't understand. Cost of living is so high. And one of the things she talks about is diversity. That when I look at different companies within different organizations, I don't see anyone that looks like me. That's a challenge, right? There are people that have certain skill sets around America. However, I don't know if we do a good job of recruiting them all the time. So, yeah.
Thank you, Keith, and welcome, and thank you for being here. I'm going to pass these along because this is what I mentioned. The healthcare services was the first sector to launch, and so they are the first ones to get their booklet out. You will have one if that's something we hear from you. We want to have that kind of information as a sector, as an industry, in the CCSD, then we'll make one for you. But I'm going to start here with Mary, and we'll pass them down. This is, again, as I would call, hot off the presses. Last year, though, 2 years ago, Trudy and MV Energy approached us about doing the same thing for them. It wasn't really thought about as, well, it's not the same as this one in the sense that this one features, if you will, MV Energy and the apprenticeship program that they use for these occupations. And so I'll pass it along to as another idea. Let me ask, before we keep moving down the table, somebody wrote, starting community college programs to address new technology needs. I would love some more clarification. Okay, Francis.
Yes. Hey, once again, it's coming back to, we have obviously we're doing transit, we're doing roadway fundings at the RTC, and there's a lot of programs that I'll come back to the new energy needs that we have. So when you're talking about a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, it's okay to do on-site training, but there needs to be a pipeline for the future as well, where community college needs to actually adjust with what current market are coming up with to make sure that the workforce follows and that there's a steady flow. Because otherwise, I mean, you're always training your current workforce and then you're creating a 20-year issue where you don't create a pipeline.
Francis, again, thank you for saying that because that's something we have heard and I saw it up here also to make sure that the training keeps up to date with the quick evolving technology. So what we thought was going to happen is happening. Some of the same themes are coming up. I want to make sure, again, I've mentioned already that we have in here in this community and these employers, and they were here yesterday, several members of the Workforce Connections Board. I'm going to go down here. Dacia, please introduce yourself and tell us who you're representing today.
Hello, Dasha Duckworth. I represent Motional. I'm the strategic HR business partner for global operations. We are creating self-driving cars, so much to the same point. We need technicians who can work on electric cars because that's what our fleet is. It's an electric fleet. And that's not something people can find here. So we're having to take technicians from other places and then send them away for training. And what's interesting is kind of to all these conversations, what's I think is lacking, whether it's short term or long term and or mid and all in between, is connection to why all that matters. And so, you know, we talk about the youth, and I'm blessed to have a brilliant 11-year-old, and he will rule the world. He is so concerned with the state of where we are at from a climate, from a treating of each other's humanity, you name it, animals. If we can do a better job, K through 12, community college, trade schools, you name it, of connecting what we need, which is a shared need, is people that can deal with electric cars that theoretically will make our planet have less pollution. That matters to youth, and they will stay longer. The reason so many people are leaving, I've been in HR for almost 3 decades, is if they don't feel connected, they're not staying. So I happen to work for an industry where people see a vision of we're creating a product that is needed, wanted, and is sexy, for lack of a different word, but it's safer. So theoretically, we're looking at building it for everyone. So whether you have a disability, whether you live in a remote area, long-term, that's the idea. That matters. And that's where we have to connect community and the messaging, right? What is it that we do that matters? And that's going to drive those changes. But we have to have educational resources. We have to teach teachers. You know, Jaime knows, I used to work in manufacturing. Same conversation. How do you get parents to understand that a manufacturing job in the 50s and 60s and the 70s and 80s is not the same as in 2022? The same for us in transportation. The world is different than what I grew up in. So we got to make the community feel like they're part of something, and it's all the pieces.
Thank you for being here, Dacia. Your voice is important. Next board member, Cecil. Oh, by the way, if you weren't doing the math, Dacia started working when she was 5. 30 plus 5, 35. So, Cecil.
Hey, good morning. Cecil Fielder. I serve as the Assistant General Manager for Keolis Transit by way of our client, the RTC, who is present. And just honored to be here. The student in me, I wanted to really be present today and just with a listening ear, listen to some of the challenges that you all face from a business perspective, and just find that alignment with what we're seeing. It's turbulent today. I mean, we are forced from a business perspective to find new and innovative ways to go farther and go faster. I think for us, midterm and long term is creating those pilot programs, those apprenticeship programs with the local community colleges that is attractive. We did a pilot through Alan Hayes' leadership a few months back. We just permanently hired 2 of those individuals that went through that apprenticeship program through CSN. So now we have 2 mechanics, you know, that we built this pipeline, and now we got to turn around and do it again because we do have folks that are retiring. And so I'm just excited to be here. Again, the student in me, I just really want to listen today. Jaime, I think the community at large from a board perspective, these discussions, you know, making sure that we're tapping into the resources at the school, to further educate the counselors and to enhance the awareness of what's available in our community will keep our kiddos here so that they're not going to California where it's terribly expensive to live, and keep the dollar right here in Nevada.
Thank you, Cecil, for being here. And I hope that we can hear also, we're going to scale those that apprenticeship model you and Ellen successfully implemented with CSN for your mechanics, but would also later like to hear about the pilot you did for increasing your hire on bus drivers as well, has been successful. So I have one more board member here from Workforce Connections, but she's also from the agency that started this whole trouble. The LVGA, as our regional development agency, said, how do we help diversify our economy, broaden our economic base, show employers that some of that is the way to go, that we have a talented workforce? And she said, Jaime, you're in charge of these, getting these going. And so she's probably come here to check on us to make sure we're doing the job she gave us. But I want to welcome
Liar, CEO. Pants on fire.
LVGA CEO.
He's such a self-initiator.
Quigley.
He did it. So yeah, LVGEA is most interested in learning what the workforce deficiencies are, because this target industries are going to be very important to us in attracting, growing existing employers and attracting new businesses and employers in an industry. You know that our role is to diversify the economy as much as possible. We've been so concentrated in hospitality and gaming that it's time for us to really focus on building industries beyond that. And so these types of conversations are super important, because we can't get the first thing a company asks before it's going to grow or before it's going to relocate is, where do I get my workers? Can I be confident there's going to be a pipeline, a fire hose of available employees for my business? So very much appreciative of the fact that Workforce Connections is convening us to have this conversation.
Thank you for being here,
But
Tina.
pressure's on. So we have the conversation. How many times have you guys been in meetings where we have conversations and then the follow through is like just kind of wilts? So I'm so glad that you are the leader, Jaime, because you don't lilt or wilt. You're very tenacious. Maybe annoyingly so for some people. But
Well, Tina has given me a lot of compliments. Some of my favorites are, she said, I'm tenacious, I'm persistent. I mean, usually that's not the first compliment you want, but I love those. She's that she thinks I'm persistent and tenacious. And I picked a theme based on what you were saying, Tina, from this board. So I want to hear what should be, Tina. Somebody said we need consistency. We need to continue focused on this issue after today. So who wrote that? I'd love to hear. All right, Tim, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, and I'm next. So I'm Tim Farkas. I'm with the Amoresco. We're a energy efficiency and renewable energy company, and we have a national footprint. We do projects all over the country, mostly for state, local governments, and the federal government. And so from time to time, different issues come up, and things are put upon us to engage with the community, to be a mentor to local subcontractors, to create apprenticeship programs. And right now, apprenticeship is the magic word. The Inflation Reduction Act has a lot of terrific green incentives. And if you don't get good at apprenticeship programs, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And luckily, these are things we do all the time. These aren't new concepts to us. And we have a strategy to go to several new projects with all the right pieces of the puzzle, I think, in place. But having that, right now, jobs, everyone knows there are job shortages. In a year from now, are we going to have the same sense of urgency to keep what we build now in place to last into the medium term and into the long term? And I hope we do, because we can't go create an apprenticeship program just because we feel like it. Right, our customers have to tell us to go do that, and we're happy to. We think it's a great value add. We see the results. The results are compelling, and they make us a better community partner wherever we work. So we're very excited to participate.
Tim, thank you for being here. And you have our commitment again. As Tina said, if one thing you're going to get from us is diligence and persistence. Once we let you on, we're not going to let you go. I know Keith played football, so if I grab you, Keith, if you don't fake me out and route this way, if I grab you, then I'm going to hold on and get you and bring you down. So it's true, she says. Thank you, Tina. I picked this one because I love the fact that some of you are already thinking about ahead, meaning solutions, because somebody said, hey, we need a non-traditional outreach approach, right? E.g. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And so until recently, I didn't know how to TikTok. My kids taught me how to TikTok. and Instagram. But it's so correct because we have, again, if you would have been here yesterday, you would have heard about an initiative that we're doing at the libraries called the Employ MV Youth Hub. We've routed almost $5 million now to that initiative to reach kids where they are, as we heard earlier here. Let's go reach them where they are. Let's not wait for them to walk into, a building. Let's go find them. And so what we're finding is that, again, they react to these non-traditional things. They want to be spoken to and contacted through TikTok and Instagram. And so this is right on. So who is this, by the way? You must have kids. Oh, MJ.
Well, no, my son's grown. I'm hoping for grandkids someday, but no, he's grown. Again, this is about telling our story, and we have to speak the language of the generations. And I think we can get generational in the way that we sort of divert to, we're used to doing things a certain way. This feels comfortable. This is how we recruit. But if you talk about, again, we can do all these short-term things, retention, hiring bonuses, but if you're talking about longevity in terms of building your workforce, you've got to start. If you can't see it, if you don't even know it's out there, when you think of transportation, you think of a mechanic or a driver, and there's so much more. And I would say that you want to reach out. I know that for young kids, they don't watch regular TV like I did. Not even that they watch YouTube. They watch YouTube TV. They spend most of their time on TikTok and Instagram, but especially TikTok. There's a way to make your business. How do you open the door? How do you talk about how, whether it's transportation, whatever you do, that you are putting to, I don't know, maybe you've got to work with an influencer that puts together that for you. You've got to know what you don't know. And if you don't know how to do that, get with somebody that does know how to do that. But I think that's a really important way to introduce your industry to young folks that then can potentially connect with those counselors and know what it is that you do. But you have to start somewhere. If you think they're going to get it at school, they may not. If they're parents, you brought up a really good point. If it's something that isn't in their community, or no one went to college, they follow the job of their father or their mother. So how do you again, don't be generational, and understand the new ways of communicating and embrace it.
Thank you, MJ. And again, I'm happy to see that the themes are very similar to what we're hearing, because when we get to the next 90-minute session of solutions, you guys are going to be able to jump right in. So I'm going to move this way and ask Paul to introduce himself and tell us about his company and his function.
So I'm Paul Truman, Trueline Corporation. I'm also the president of the Nevada Trucking Association. Trueline is a small family-owned trucking company here in Las Vegas. We have about 300 truck drivers, a total staff of about 350, including diesel technicians, IT, safety, a whole range of functions that make us work. We're the one industry that when the pandemic hit, we didn't stop. We were the heroes of the highway. We kept the grocery stores full. And then 2 years later, all of a sudden I have a state senator calling me, "Why is your truck in the left-hand lane?" So that didn't last very long, being the hero. As an industry, we're short about 80,000 truck drivers. It's funny, as you go to middle schools and you go to high school graduations, they put up slides of what everyone's going to do. I've never seen a slide of a kid that wanted to be a truck driver. But their jobs, they can go to school for $6,000 to $8,000 and get trained, and they can make $100,000 a year. My kids went to college for $100,000 and came out and made $50,000 a year. So they are very good jobs. They're jobs that are needed in the economy. If you look at everything in this room, everything, at one time or another, was on a truck. So, they're good jobs, they're needed jobs, and we're severely understaffed as an industry. Now, the federal government has tried to address that. They have finally approved, after about a 20-year ask, approved an apprentice program where 18 to 21-year-olds can drive over state lines. The problem is it's a very difficult program to be a part of. In the state of Nevada, we had exactly 0 applicants for this apprenticeship program.
Wow.
So 18 to 21-year-olds can drive in the state of Nevada without passengers or hazardous materials, but right now they cannot drive from here to Baker, California. So there's a lot of things we need to address. We lose the high school graduate because now they can't really drive till they're 21. So we lose them to other trades or to the water district and the power company and Republic Services, and they do a better job. We need to do a better job as an industry capturing and filling that gap.
Very interesting. I didn't know that, Paul. Thank you for being here. I want to hear from Jocelyn next, Jake. But before that, I want to tell, if you weren't doing the math, my beautiful friend MJ started motherhood very early. I'm not going to say any numbers, but probably high school or something like that, because they're wondering, MJ, how come your child be grown? Your child should only be this big. But all right, Jocelyn.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Jocelyn Frainer. I'm with Harry Reid International Airport, formerly known as McCarran, for some of you that might not recognize that name. But anyways, I'm in landside operations. We, as most of you have talked about, we are back for sure. We're in parking, we're in ground transportation, Uber, Lyft, taxi, TNC in general, and we're hitting numbers that we're actually surpassing numbers that we had in 2019. So we're extremely busy. And as an airport, definitely we have the need that you all do as far as for workforce. As an airport, we're self-sufficient. So we hire in all aspects, between landside to facilities to control centers, et cetera. So we have a wide variety of needs, from basic frontline staff to control operators in the baggage handling system, which is also something I was in charge of for a little while. So there's a big need there, and I think we've as a father as well with kids in school, I completely understand the amount of cost for education is a lot higher, and it's a lot harder to get the technical jobs and the trade jobs that we're needing right now. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and we're in the same boat as everybody else. Where we just need people. We need people out in the workforce.
That's what I'm hearing you say, Justin. Thank you for being here and representing the airport. Again, hearing you validates that the needs, or there are certain needs that are common within your industry and industries. And so that's really good news for us, because we'll share with you what we're doing about some of that already based on the 3 first launches, but also how do we dive down and customize craft solutions for your specific industry as well that we might not have on the table. So I've been told by my colleagues that it's time to move on to the long term. So before I go, I know there's one more person I think we need to meet, which is Chris over here. But before we go to Chris, I want to give you your next assignment, which is take the red piece of paper, and in a single sheet, write a single idea or single challenge that you view as a long-term workforce, or talent issue. And again, I know I gave one away. The connecting meaningfully to the K through 12 system is the favorite one coming up, and we're working really hard. That's why we're grateful that our CCST friends are here, Tristan and Ryan. And in case you didn't know, the superintendent of the school district sits also on the Workforce Connections Board, and his team has been amazing working with us, from Mike Barton to Gia to all the folks on his team working on that fellowship program, working on this connectivity for you at their schools, both in person and online. Remind me if I don't say it, but later we'll talk about a online platform that we are making available also for employers to increase their connectivity again to those schools. So who has some? Oh, there's one right here already. I'm going to read this one. So this was, very good. So this one says one of our long-term problems for having a workforce in the long run here is the fact that in Southern Nevada, affordable housing is going to be an issue. So I want to hear about this because I know my friend MJ would say that, as I already said, transportation is an issue. Mobility, how do we provide appropriate mobility for workforce? I know that my friend Tina is going to tell me water is an issue, Jaime, if we're going to have, places for people to work and live. And so I want to hear a little bit about this. Who wrote down? Oh, of course, my friend MJ.
This I think is something that I've been here since 1980. I think, generally speaking, for the first 20 some years that I lived here, when you would talk to friends that lived from the state that you came from, we would say you should move here. It's so inexpensive to live here. There's so many available apartments and homes, and even if you don't make a lot of money in hospitality, like back of house, or you're a teacher, it's it's just, you know, plenty of choices, and that's not the case anymore. And I think even when we talk about in our industry in transportation around the United States, transit agencies are getting into the real estate business, and they are buying land and building affordable housing for drivers and mechanics, because that again is about long term. How do you solve for, you know, we can recruit. Tina and her team can bring businesses here. I've been at events where I hear this new project will bring over 4,000 jobs here. My brain goes to, where are they going to live? Where are they going to live, and how are they going to afford to the rents are in many cases higher than the mortgages. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I know it is a problem that if we don't address it, we can work as hard as we can. We can put sticky notes up on white paper, and we can talk to elected officials. We can do all that, but we're not going to be able to sustainably recruit. And so not only how do people get around to those jobs, but where do they live? So where do they live, work, and play? We maybe know where they're going to work, but where they live, it's going to be really hard to recruit if there's not affordable housing available, or even available housing for that matter.
Thank you, MJ. Yes, those are some of the long term, along with, again, we talked about robust mobility. And before where are you? Chris, you're going to go next and tell us who you are, your organization. I'll mention this one that somebody wrote down: ongoing training and resources post HS-7. So get ready. I'm going to come to you in a second. Chris, want to hear from you.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting me. I represent Las Vegas Recycling. Las Vegas Recycling is a Latina-owned family enterprise, currently with about 70 employees. We operate a fleet of over 55 vehicles, service mostly large and mid-sized businesses. We buy recyclables, and we furnish all of the related services as well. We've been on an enviable track since the company's founding in 2010, growing exponentially. And the truth is, we think we could probably double our revenues, and already we're in the high 40 million. So it's pretty robust, good sized company. But the major challenge that we have, because we don't want to compromise on our service promise, and our service is really what distinguishes us from a wide array of other competitors, and they're all very good companies, is people. So we are located in Ward 3 of the city, Southeast Las Vegas, the most distressed part of the city. So how we end up recruiting people and having to train them, we do a variety of things. On-site training by our own, as well as bringing outside experts to get people certified in different positions. Of course, all of the OSHA training is essential to what we do. We recruit from among our employees. You know, many of the people who've been with us have been with us since the predecessor company, because the owners pay well. They treat them with great respect. And it's an advantage that we're Latino, because we not only are bilingual, but we have those ties. We understand the cultural nuances that make people want to, as Daisha, is it, said, you know, the connectivity and the respect. The operating words at our place are por favor and gracias, you know, please and thank you. And goes a long way. People feel valued. We also are heavily engaged with the community. We support a wide variety of initiatives, charities, events, because there people become even more familiar with us. You got to show up. Like Woody Allen said, right? 80% of success is showing up. We do. And that's arduous. That's tough. You know, it requires a lot of effort. Still, we could hire 20 more people right now and accommodate them. We have for example, a 30,000 square foot warehouse where we do paper document and e-waste shredding. If you've never seen it, it's really pretty cool, you know, to see. But there, you know, we're running shifts and a half. We could run 24/7. Tough to find, you know, tough to find folks. So that's why I'm glad here to hear ideas, to be a part of this, to let you know what's worked for us. The Latino population in particular is a great fountain. I've been involved in the community here for over 20 years. Prior to being in recycling, I was a broadcaster, so I ran the Univision TV station, so I got to know it pretty well. And I see that companies large and small, even to this day, don't do the proper outreach, don't engage, don't establish the relationships. It's getting better, but there's a great source, you know. Okay, I'll leave now.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Chris. And we do want to learn and replicate things that is working for some employers. That's the purpose of convening a sector so that employers can benefit from successes that are already going on. I want to again ask who, because I don't know if I'm reading it correctly, who wrote ongoing training? Okay. So Dacia, tell me, I don't know, it might not be a 7.
It's not.
Okay, would you give? Okay.
So, as I listen to us, and again, as a parent, I do worry about the K through 12, and I on the board and other members know, very passionate about that topic to a fault some days. K through 12 is essential for any community's future, but I would challenge all of us as a community, all of us as employers, all of us as all the hats that we wear in this world, is let's not forget about after high school. We can't forget to continue to retrain. Right? So somebody who graduated high school, like myself, according to Hammy 10 years ago, I wish, the skills of 10 years ago are not the same skills as today. So we do have to focus on K through 12, but we also have to focus on high school through retirement. And retirement is not at 60 anymore. There's plenty of people who want to learn new skills. They just learn differently. Right. And so I think we have to continuously reinvent what an internship really is. In my experience, we tend to focus on youth. But there are plenty of people out there who want to learn new skills that are my age and older. So I would just remind ourselves of those focuses. We have individuals who are formerly incarcerated who maybe never had any exposure, and we need to look at what is being offered within our prison systems for education. There's some limits in some ways to what they are allowed to learn. We need to look at our youth who have aged out of our foster systems, and they have very different access points than youth who have families that they live with. So it would challenge us out to look at the continuation and the continuum of employment, not just the K through 12, because long term, people don't retire like they used to. I mean, I'm blessed to have a mom who still works in her 70s and runs her own business, but she's not retiring in the near future, not because she can't afford to, because she don't want to. And I think that's something that we have to rethink about when it comes to careers and vocations and choices, is retirement isn't everybody's goal.
Thank you, Tasha. I appreciate you're here because my Workforce Connections board members are really, this is their expertise. They talk about it every day when we meet and we do our strategic planning. We talk about that even and today we can't rely on any one single pool of talent, right? Even though we're targeting that graduating class every year that comes out of CCSD, or we should be, and that's part of our strategy, better tapping into those 25 to 30,000 young adults that are graduating, of which the data tells us only half have a robust post-secondary plan. And half of those who enter the secondary plan don't necessarily complete it. And so that's really 22,500 target pool that we could be doing a better job, as you've heard today, of connecting, mining it earlier, having a more robust plan. I know, again, Principal Cordy over there from, by the way, this year, SECTA was named the #1 magnet school in the nation. And that's the principal over there, Ryan. He's going to be, please give him a hand. That's a big deal. he's going to be the principal of the next. We've been talking about the CCTA on the old side of the Bishop Gorman, but there's another similar type of school that's trying to meet the needs of you as employers, as industry, and it's going to be in North Las Vegas, and it's going to be again that multi-generational approach where it's not just for students, but it's the whole family. So Dacia was talking about, again, these pools that we need to be able to mine better. The youth, I can tell you that currently there's almost 50,000, yes, 50,000 disconnected youth in our valley. And we, again, as a board, target them because they're between the ages of 18 and 24. They're not working. And so this is something, as Dacia said, we got to do better at. There are also people with disabilities, another talent pool, returning vets, the reentry population, people that have paid their debt to society and want a second and deserve a second chance. We have a great program here in our valley that we fund called Hope for Prisoners, which graduates, people every month. And when you look at their success rate, when you say, well, what does that mean good? Across the nation, the federal government funds reentry programs as long as they're 50% successful. What does that mean? You serve or you enroll 100, 50 don't go back to recidivate or jail. Or our program here in town has a 94% success rate. So out of every 100 people that enter the program, yes, absolutely, that deserves a hand. So only 6 fall back into that system. And so Dacia is correct. We're about 15 minutes from stopping this extraction process, having a working lunch, which we're probably going to tap into because we took some time for introductions. But here's how this process works. I can see already your common challenges, but our team is going to take these to another room, go through the process of really summarizing the common challenges, the opportunities for collective action, so that in the next 90 minutes after our working lunch, we can really get to work with you and tell you either, here's a need of yours, we have an existing solution. Does this meet your need? Yes. If not, let's create one for you. And so, again, we're really near to that point. And so with that, yes, George. Can we get him a mic, please?
Hello. It would be interesting to hear, we haven't talked about yet about incumbent worker training. Maybe indirectly we have, but to hear a few people's thoughts before we leave on that issue, because it's so huge, especially when we're trying to find people and we can't. We have a lot of people already working for us who would fit that bill.
Yes. So if you gather your thoughts and you think in other meetings, I really recall Manufacturing Group because we've actually, because of their requests, we have now money available to do some skill development for existing workers. And in our world, we use that very big term called incumbent worker training. The employers didn't know what that was. They said, I just need to upskill my existing workforce. So if you have any thoughts on upskilling your existing workforce, we'd love to hear them. I'd like to get these 2 papers out of my hands. So one of them said, we need a template for sustainability. We need to finish what we start. Again, if you know me, and Tina Quigley over there does, I finish what I start, at least, and my team does too. I see so Dacia, the Workforce Connections team, we're going to stay on this. But the good news is not just us. It's CCSD, and they're committed, and they're showing it with their actions. At CSN, it's UNLV. Those of you that were asking, where's CSN? They're in the house now. You came, Frank, raise your hand. There's Frank Woodbeck from CSN. He was today at probably the Institutional Advisory Council. Is that where you were? So we're going to finish what we start, because otherwise the LVGA is going to kick me off the board, right, Gina? Tina, is that what's happening? Yeah. I'll share one last thought, and then I want to hear from you. As George said, any thoughts on incumbent worker training? I see they're delivering your lunch already. But Dacia also shared with us another of those big challenges that are like mobility, like water, like affordable housing. It's accessible, quality child and elder care, right? So as we look at the population that perhaps is retired already above, we look at them 2 ways. Number one, can we tap into that workforce again and make them part of the solution? But also, as they're maybe aging, do they need that care so somebody else from the family, the caregiver, can go and be a part of the solution that you're telling us you need people? So with that, raise your hand, please, if you have any thoughts on upskilling your existing workforce needs, You wish you could do it, but there's no funding. You wish you could do it, but there's no training. Here we go to emotional.
I may have taken ideas from my manufacturing days. You know, because we're an industry that's in development, it's really what we are, as an in development industry. The skills that we need don't necessarily exist outside of our however many walls make up the building over there. So we've actually taken an active interest in, you know, for transparency, the entry level position for us is what's known as a vehicle operator. So yes, the vehicles still have operators in them, and they start at 50,000. So it's a decent starting rate wage.
They barely touch the wheel, right?
They ghost it.
They coast it.
Ghost.
Yeah. Ghost. Okay.
They take over when necessary.
Okay.
We then partner them with whether it's a technician, an engineer, product, whatever team it is, and we start upskilling them through job shadowing. But that's a choice that the companies decided to do. And so, I think this year alone we took 40, almost 50 vehicle operators and promoted them into what we call specialist roles, and in some of them have become engineers. So it is something that we've said, hey, if you've done schooling to some level, if you're going to dig in and do the work, you're going to learn the technology, we'll build you up internally, and it's on average it's a $15,000 increase right then. So I highly recommend that where you can build up your team, it's an investment, because one thing I've learned from all the industries I've been in HR for is the ability to take the entry level worker and convert them to, whether it's an engineer, a management, fill in the blank, they are able to speak in a way that some of us who come right out of school can never do, right? And I learned this from IT people years ago. We need liaisons between the people who do the work and those of us who ask for the work to get done. And oftentimes they're already on our team. So it's taking the time to mentor. It's taking the time to say, this mission today is not as critical as training this person is.
Thank you, Dacia. And I think, so that's something we've heard across the way already over multiple employers and industries. And to add to that, what we see, and the reason why there's an investment that's going to be made, meaning we've received funds to be able to support those kinds of efforts at your companies, is because usually when you upskill workers, there also creates that Venturi effect, if we will, that now your entry level also requires filling, right? So again, those young 18-year-olds that are leaving Ryan school that want to get into Motional or other companies. So that effect is another way to get people, move them upward that economic, mobility ladder. So again, if you have needs and wants to talk about upskilling, let's talk about it, because we're bringing in partners like CSN to help develop curriculum. Is that what it's needed? If it's just something already that you have existing in your company, let's discuss that. And again, we're going to start discussing solutions in probably 30 minutes or so. So before my team mates take these things, I'm going to come to you, Bill, 1 second. I want to just give you some feedback that is, that again, we're really seeing the common themes. We hear things like create networks for entry-level employees so they can become higher professionals. Train and keep our own local talent. We've been hearing that, home grow. Also, make sure that outsiders get trained and don't leave us. Set a long-term goal and let's achieve it. This isn't a problem. We have to change and adapt the solutions as permanent. I don't know what this. There's another doctor in the house.
Permanent.
As planned.
As permanent.
As permanent. Okay. Receiving and encouraging our young adults to join, again, blue-collar labor jobs. We talked about, we've heard this, that there's a perception that manufacturing is its old greasy factory, and that's not true. When you go to Sunshine Minting, or when Dacia took me to Ken's Foods the first time, these are state-of-the-art facilities with automation, and again, they're not the old manufacturing things anymore. Through education and training, create a more diverse workforce. We've heard throughout the other launches about employers want their workforce to reflect the community they're in. So it has to be diverse, equitable, and inclusive. And finally, this one, which again screams at CCSD, class and training opportunities for middle and high schoolers. possibly on-site trainings for company and organizations to provide exposure to those students. Again, I'm happy to tell you that is happening. And so we can't wait to start to share that with you during the solution session. I'm going to come back here to Trudy.
Well, I just want to comment on the conversation about training internally, right? How you upscale your people. One of the things that, and actually I give Workforce Connections the credit for the pathways conversation. You guys are really good about setting that, right? Putting pathways out there. We're actually looking at pathways for our customer service reps. We get these folks that come in, they start as customer service reps to get their foot in the door, and they don't have anywhere to go and they leave. So we've invested all this effort, and they're talented people who are just looking for a way in the door. So we are actively working on a pathways solution, developing different profiles so they can move and get mentored and train up into other into other opportunities within the organization rather than leave us. The other thing is we've created training standards committees within our various work groups, and those training standards committees actually work on developing training programs and opportunities within their own work group to bring the new folks coming in, creating more entry-level jobs, by the way, which is huge for us because that needs to happen. You just can't hire a lineman. You gotta hire a pre-apprentice before you even get an apprentice kind of concept. So we're doing a lot of work trying to get more entry-level jobs to create those pathways and get more people from the community in the door. And I do think those efforts are really starting to show some good, net us some good value in the end.
Thank you, Trudy. Yeah, and we want to partner with you on that. So any help we can be in helping MV Energy build their internal upskilling, again, bringing in partners like CSN if we need to, using some of the resources that the City of Las Vegas, our congressional delegation has made available to foster these industry sector partnerships. I don't know if I share that with you, so I'm going to do it now. One of the things we're seeing that we haven't seen before to hopefully address the things that, well, we got to stick to it. We got to finish what we start. Because I acknowledge that there's been this conversation in our region before. And that's just not to point blame at who was doing it. But why I know this is going to be successful is because we've heard employers, and hopefully we'll hear it from you again today during our first 3 sessions, says this is the first time I hear that I feel like you bureaucrats are paying attention or listening to us. And what that means is we have a manufacturer. Tom, can you show me that slide? When you go to the slide of this, there's a company here called Sunshine Minting, and they're a really cool company. If you haven't visited them before, go back one, Tom, because their motto is what? It's called the Silver and Gold Source. If you go there, they make currency for other countries. They have the most beautiful products that you see there. But when you walk in, they have people with machine guns because there's like gold bars sitting right there and silver bars. And so anyway, it's really weird because there's like mercenaries there or something. But it's a really cool company with state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art workforce. And they have their bases in Idaho. And in Idaho, they years ago had a conversation like this that led to the kind of high school collaboration that we hope to have with Ryan in his new school and at the Bishop Gorman School and other things. Meaning in Idaho, he saw this work. He saw industry share their ideas, us bureaucrats listen, but then not just listen, but do with that information. So go create the connective tissues at the elementary, middle, high school, post-secondary at the community college. And so he, after the meeting, he said, I believe in this. I want to be behind it. So he created a commemorative silver bar for our industry sector partnerships. So you'll see it right there. It's got 3 layers of, I forgot now, laser something, how they do this. When you look at the machines, it's pretty amazing. And it says, obviously it's, he created a logo for us. We're Southern Nevada's industry sector partnerships. There's 7 of them because those are the 7 identified in the LVGA's Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Tina, you need to make the names smaller. Those were long names. And of course, they were all established in 2022. Now, he put the pressure on us. As Tina said, there's a pace here. These are hard to convene. It's a heavy lift. But we, which is part of what we did 2 of you together today. And we hope that before the end of the year, because otherwise we'll need another coin, that all of them will be established by 2022. So, Sonia here with us. if you could get Sonia in here, because I want her to give every one of you employers. Tom wanted did this. He made it. So I want every employer to know that this is how it gets done. And so he said, I've seen it done. And if they want to talk to me, I want to talk to my fellow CEOs, my fellow, executives or leaders from these organizations. This is how we get stuff done. So anyway, we're going to hand this out to you. Sonia, would you please take care of that for me? Because I know it's, I want to break it all and make it dirty. But they're really beautiful. They come in a protective case. If you make sure every employer, and there's some, I don't know if there's any employers in the back, but make sure they get them on behalf of Tom and Sunshine Minting. Show me the next slide. Go back to Tom, because I think it's lunchtime. One more. Yep, it's lunchtime. So again, thank you to the RTC and to MV Energy. One more round of applause to them, please. They're providing our lunch. And as you open your boxes, like I said, I'll cheat. And I know we already introduced ourselves, but we're going to introduce our skill acquisition partners, or I'm going to introduce them. But any final thoughts before I go and start to introduce some of the people who are patiently waiting in the back and listening to you? Any final thoughts on you guys on the extraction process so far? Looking like scanning across the table. Everybody's good. Okay. So I'm going to start here because this is a smaller group. And I am going to introduce to all of you. Thank you, John Rinaldo from Cristo Rey. Thank you for being here. I know for those of you who don't know, Cristo Rey is another amazing school. We actually participate in their interns program. We have 4 students of Cristo Rey here in this building. Is it 4 days a week or 5 days a week? 5 days a week. But how does it happen? I see one every day. What do I see?
They rotate Friday.
They rotate. So if you have 4, on Monday you get one, Tuesday another one, Wednesday another one, Thursday another one, and then on Friday one of them repeats. But it's an amazing program. These are young kids. When you meet them, you'll want one in your building. So thank you for being here, Cristo Rey, and listening. On behalf of the College of Southern Nevada, Frank Wookbeck is here. Frank's bio is too lengthy to say. We were talking about it. Frank? We were at a party Saturday, and somebody was saying, Frank's done this and done that, and they were right. Right, Frank? Your bio is like 3 pages? Is that? No, you're good. That's what it is. Thank you for being here, Frank, on behalf of CSN. Over here, I'm going to introduce, I'm going to start over here representing Equus, which is the company that staffs these retail stores I told you about. We call them one-stop career centers. We call them Job Connects, we call them. They have different names, and now again they're in libraries, they're in chambers of commerce. Yvette Bayless is here representing those folks on behalf of Equus. So thank you for being here, Yvette. All right, my friend Jill Hirsch is here. I hadn't even seen you. She is on the Workforce Connections Programs Committee. She runs what we called adult education and family literacy programs. Again, this is part of the talent development pipeline. She's representing the Las Vegas County Library District, which now hosts 12 locations. Is that right? I think 12 or more. So thank you for being here, Jill. Noah Fischel, am I pronouncing that right? Fischel. All right, Noah Fischel is representing the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation. And I'm assuming, Noah, that you live in one of the American Job Centers formerly known as Job Connects?
Yes, it's originally at Maryland Parkway location, but now I'm staying at Green Valley Hub.
Which is the first time you guys have been in a library, right?
Well, last time I was in that library, I was about this tall.
Right.
About half my age.
Yeah. Well, great. No, we're glad to have you, and glad to really grateful that Dieter is moving in with us at these locations to be closer to where the people live and work, where these businesses are located, where the people that work at those businesses. Next person requires no introduction because everybody knows her. We're lucky to have her back in our system again.
What am I saying?
And so Tina, say hi again, I guess.
Hi. I appreciate everybody getting together. I know I was just looking around the room. I was wondering, do your companies like hate that they are giving you up for 4 hours? But I really think it's valuable. I hope that all the employers appreciate the work that's being done too.
I agree, Tina, and thank you. We do appreciate that you and your company set aside this much time. I feel guilty to ask my board members like Dacia over there to put aside 3.5 hours of her day, and Cecil and Tina. But as Tina said, it's valuable and it's needed, and all the post-its that are gone. See, that's why I want to knock it out, because they took them away. I knew last time I was looking for thoughts, they were gone. As the post-it said, we need to finish this. And so again, thank you for being here today. Hopefully you're feeling heard. Hopefully after the next session, you'll feel that there are some deliverables, because that's what this is about. We need to deliver. Now, again, as you know, there's limited resources. We can't, if each one of you had 10 needs times 20, that's 200 deliverables. It'd be impossible for us. What we're trying to do, what they're trying to do right now out there is identifying opportunities for collective action, for us to deliver a handful of things that serves all of you. And it's been possible before with the other three, and I think from what I saw on these whiteboards, it'll be possible with you as well. Mary, I thought you were raising your hand, but you weren't, huh? Okay, all right. So I'm going to move to the back and welcome our friends from the Clark County School District. Tristan Hayes does a lot of wonderful things. Again, he is out there making sure that these kids and the CTE programs, and again, I'm going to ask him to elaborate a little bit on that, because most of us, including me, thought that CTE was only happening at CTAs. And I know I'm using acronyms, but Tristan, break that down for us. Break down that myth.
Thank you, Jaime. Tristan Hayes, I handle the skilled and technical trade programs as well as the ag programs within the Clark County School District. To give you some perspective, we have about 16 furniture cab construction programs throughout the district. So the construction programs are at the CTAs, which is Career and Technical Academies. Most of those are compass directional, so there's a northwest or north or south. The other comprehensive high schools where they have furniture cabinet programs might be at Palo Verde, Sierra Vista, Centennial, Bonanza High School. So we have lots of programs in our comprehensive schools. We have about 16 automotive programs. We have 4 welding programs. We have 8 manufacturing programs. Our manufacturing programs have equipment that's aligned with CSN, as well as training that we do together with CSN. So the pipeline for high school into secondary is already aligned, and we're providing SACA certifications that we were one of the first high school level states to do that, and Texas just followed us. So as far as I think of it, they're just validating what we do. So we're here for you. We've got students that unfortunately, many of them graduate under the age of 18, and really the bridge that we're trying to break is how do we get 16 and 17-year-old students part-time employed in your facilities so that you can grow your own. I think most of us have mentioned in our bios that we started working at a young age, pretty much as soon as you can get a work permit, but yet today's economy, we can't hire somebody under the age of 18. If there's a way we can break that and kind of go back to our own respectful youths, I think I'm going to provide you a great deal of workforce that you have not been able to tap because whatever regulations have prevented you from doing so. But
Thank you, Tristan. And that's just a short, snippet, because Tristan's interested in having hiring days based on your sectors. So think about a hiring day that exposes all those young people at CCSD to your sector specifically, to the occupations in your sector. And so again, the reason you're here is we won't get it all done today, but we wanted to peek into the window on what these long-term solutions look like. I'm going to jump for a little bit over a few people just to introduce again the principal, currently former principal of SECTA, #1 magnet school in the nation, but now principal of the new North Las Vegas High School being built. So Ryan, tell us a little bit about that.
Thanks, Jaime. I just want to, before I get there, thank you for this conversation's evolution. About 10 years ago, when we were in these meetings, what we heard was we need to bring woodshop back and guidance counselors are the problem. Now we're evolving into an ownership model of how can we work together? What can I do? What can you do? How can we become a partner to solve these workforce pipelines? And the second thing I want to say is I feel like I have to be an advocate for teachers in CCSD. So just be careful with CCSD comments, because that's heard by teachers who I think are the best people in the world. They're wonderful. They give so much to our community. And when we say things like CCSD is not working or it's bad, that is heard by our teachers as you are bad. So just careful, be more specific with your feedback. We want to do the right thing. We have 100% graduation rate at schools like mine. We have 80% who have a college transcript and a career trade. There's a lot of great things happening there. So let me work with you. Let's be a good partner and go forward. So, Jaime, let me get to what you asked me to talk about. So I don't know why any reasonable person would leave the best school in the country, but I chose to do so. I'm headed to North Las Vegas, where we're opening a new career tech academy without a name yet. I'm not allowed to say what it is yet. So it'll be the North Las Vegas Career Tech Academy. We got 10 programs. The programs are slated to open as diesel, construction, architecture, IT network, IT cybersecurity, education, social work, nursing, athletic training, and business logistics. And all these programs work when we have a phenomenal teacher. And none of these programs work when we don't have a phenomenal teacher. So we're at a great conversation with Tim about 2 weeks ago, a staffing model to hire a teacher for $50,000 to have an innovative career tech training program is not realistic. It's not appetizing. It's not pulling your staff, which you're already short, into our school system to train a workforce pipeline, which is a mid to long-term solution. So what Tim was proposing, I think, is a really innovative solution that we can pay salary, benefits, retirement. And if there's an industry sector or an individual company who's willing to kick in a little bit of extra salary for that individual, that company would have first rights to interview, hire, train specific for that group. But we're just as short-staffed in the school system as you are. And so any way we can work together to find skilled workforce that can then train a fire hose of skilled workers, which I heard earlier. I like that idea, but we're all looking for just the one right now. Another couple ideas, diversity that's in our schools. So if you're looking for diverse leadership, diverse populations, our communities are our schools. That's our people. So if we work together, we can really ensure that comes forward. The model that works the best for us is PR semester 1. So the school calendar and your fiscal calendars are not the same, but in August, September through really March, PR is great. These kind of meetings, talking, getting on the cameras, newspapers, whatever, meeting kids, that's great. But we need to hire them semester 2 before they graduate. If you are in our classrooms and you're interviewing in April and May, you capture our seniors before they graduate. If you're not in our classrooms, they're not mature enough, they're not brave enough, they're whatever, but they don't go out. And you feel that, and you see that. Once they get to you, retention, good luck. But if you can hire them in our facilities in March, April, they're yours. And they are loyal to people who they trust. And so if you can come out to our schools and be in the classrooms, bring them donuts once or twice a year is really good enough. Better case, if you can show them how to do a high skill thing from your organization, talk to them about the career ladder at your place, just put a face and a name, they will hire and they will work with you. We graduate about 8,000 students from our CTAs every year. And I'm afraid if we don't get them before that graduation day, they just evaporate in the city somewhere, and we lost all that taxpayer-funded training. All right, I'll cut it off there. I got 3 more, but you guys are welcome to see me for the rest of the day, and we'll keep going with however our schools can be a solution for you, but it's a two-way partnership. I need to get our students high-skill work and high-skill wages. You need great employees, and it's the same workforce pipeline. So let's work together to make that happen.
Thank you, Ryan, for being here. And as yes, please give him a hand. Number 1 school in the nation. That's amazing. Thank you. And I'm familiar. I live just a few blocks away from there, so I've been familiar with Ryan's work for a while. But again, hopefully what you're hearing is there is some substance to this. This is just a meeting, but this is only the launch of your sector partnership. So over the next few weeks and months and years, these are the kinds of things that we hope to do with you to help you connect meaningfully with these talent pipelines. So we're gonna continue to kind of paint the talent development pipeline. So before I go to UNLV, I'm going to come to our community college and ask Frank to maybe share a couple minutes of why this conversation is important to CSN. Frank.
Good. First of all, I apologize for being late. Came out of a meeting and I've got to head off to another one in about an hour, but it is on. It's on? Good, okay. But the meeting I just came out of, actually, we were explaining to some community members on our Institutional Advisory Council that our focus now is really developing curriculum that will serve your needs. And operations and logistics is one of those areas that we are focusing on at this particular point in time and going forward. I'll paint a little bit of a picture for you, which kind of involves my personal background also. I really started out in economic development before I became director of DEETR, and now over in higher education. But if you think about that, economic development is actually focused on diversifying the economy and developing the economy. But you can't develop the economy without the greatest resource you will need coming in. And Tina has talked about this a lot. Our greatest resource is human capital. But we have to develop that human capital, which requires training. And we need to be nimble in the community colleges now, and we are. And we are focusing on how we can implement workforce training from someone who's coming out of secondary school into certificate training or going for a 2-year degree, or someone who is changing careers. Because remember, we have a large underemployed workforce in Southern Nevada, the result of a recession, the result of the pandemic, and a number of obstacles. And that's an adult population for the most part. So we need to be able to provide that training that provides a bridge into a career. And it doesn't need to be 2 years in length particularly. It could be 15 weeks. But we also need to be able to provide a pathway in which they can continue to work or can work, start a new career, and continue to build their personal career into whatever they want to be, whether it's a technician or an engineer or whatever. So we are focused on that at the College of Southern Nevada at this point in time, and will continue to be. We're trying to figure out ways of providing facilities to build pathways from our underserved communities into career skills certifications and other needs, and build a bridge also to UNLV or UNR or Nevada State. So that's our role now, and we are laser focused on doing it.
Thank you, Frank, again for being here. Again, I want to acknowledge another Workforce Connections board member, Dr. Federico Zaragoza, who's leads the CSN team. And again, him and every member of the team, James McCoy, Frank, has been amazing in trying to, for the first time, I think, in Southern Nevada, do this thing that right now seems like a dream, but take your needs as an industry, start with Ryan and Tristan at CCSD, and start to prepare them early, right? Start to expose them early, engage with them early, build trust early, equip them early. So when they graduate, they're ready. But now it doesn't mean that they have to stay in that job forever. So we're envisioning a talent development system that makes our region unique. So when Tina Quigley is out across the nation and the world saying Southern Nevada is a place to be, she can truly refer to a talent development system that has on and off ramps, if you will, to the skill acquisition process. So let's say CCSD prepares them for you and they come in at the entry level, but then they need more. That's where CSN comes in. And then, of course, Frank mentioned other options, and that's Frank, I don't know if it was strategic that you said Nevada State only, because I know right now we don't know whether it's a Nevada State College or Nevada State University, but I'm going to introduce to you from Nevada State, Tom, to kind of give us in a couple minutes, Tom, why it's important to that institution, this conversation.
Well, thank you. Just to clarify, we are still Nevada State College. We are in the process of becoming Nevada State University. If you watched any of the proceedings, which I hope you didn't because it was difficult and hard, you'll find that one of the questions about our mission and who we serve, the difference between Nevada State College and Nevada State University, there'll be no difference in who we serve and what our mission is. Dr. Pollard is very committed to workforce development, President Pollard, I suppose I should say, and she's very committed to the new majority, as she calls it, of students that we have. I think, so we are still committed to workforce development. We're a little different. Like UNLV, we're not engaging so much in CTE, but we're looking at what maybe the incumbent worker training, how to get them the next level and get them additional skills. We provide non-credit programming, mostly, and right now we're looking at leadership and things like data analytics, because we're hearing that that's a need out there in the community, but also trying to kind of break the myth that there's CTE or 4-year acquisition. Those are like they're competing. They're really not competing. The pathways now, as we say, it's non-linear pathways, as we discussed. People go through the CTE programs. We're trying to design our program so that if they take a non-credit program, they can get credit for it later if they decide they want to complete a 4-year degree and advance further in their careers. So that's really what we're about. And thank you, Jaime.
Thank you, Tom. And again, appreciation to Dr. Pollard, who's a member with me on Tina's board, the LVGEA. She has been meeting with Dr. Zaragoza and Dr. Jara and Dr. Whitfield. That's a lot of doctors. They can probably do an operation altogether, huh? Yeah, but they've been meeting already routinely to, again, build this sustainable talent pipeline that you're hearing us discuss today. That's based and responds to the needs of industry. That's what our goal is. So we thank you for being here. As Tina said, we know it's a long time, but hopefully you see that's the reason you're here. And so with that, I'm going to go to our top tier institution representing Dr. Whitfield and UNLV. Today is here is Dr. Cecilia Maldonado, is Dr. M, as we call her, I think. But Cecilia, thank you for being here and tell us why this is important to UNLV.
Thank you, Jaime. It's my pleasure to be here today representing UNLV and Dr. Whitfield, who is also very, very committed to workforce development. In my role as Associate Vice Provost for Workforce Development is to help employers connect with UNLV students in various areas. Earlier in August, we held the first annual Southern Nevada Leadership Summit on looking at UNLV talent pipelines, and we had discussions with different industry sectors. We hope to replicate that in the future, but out of that, we really want to connect with employers interested in hiring our students. So we're looking at embedding career readiness skills in the curriculum. We're looking at developing micro-credentials that feed into direct employment. We want employers who are interested in internships and working with our students or coming on and serving as mentors. UNLV is open to all kinds of variations of connections with employers, and I'm the one to reach out to. I'm looking forward to this I'm excited about seeing this at a research institution. I've been at UNLV for 22 years. Never in the world did I think that this be happening at a research institution. I started UNLV, people were asking me, what is workforce development? So I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited about what the future holds, and I'm grateful that our leadership is really committed to connecting and doing better workforce development initiatives. Thank you.
We're grateful that you're here, Dr. M. And so finally, our final partner here I want to introduce you to. If you'd give Stacy the mic, please. Stacy Bostwick works for the Governor's Office of Economic Development. She was a member of our team a long time ago, so we're really grateful that she's our expert in that world now. But these worlds collide, economic development and workforce development. One of the things I loved about Dr. Pollard when I met her was she said to me, nice to meet you, you're the workforce guy? I said, yes. She said, I believe workforce development is economic development. And I was like, oh, you're going to be great. And so, Stacey, tell us again who you are, your function at GOED, and why this conversation is important to GOED.
Sure. Frank stole my thunder. Jaime just stole my thunder. We've got Tina here. So I'll be brief, but I'm Stacy Bostwick. I'm actually the Director of Workforce Development at GOED, the Governor's Office of Economic Development. And sometimes we get that question, like, why do we have a workforce person in the GOED office? And of course, my reaction is, duh. But in a more articulate fashion, what everyone else said, right? Economic development is not really successful without the workforce infrastructure behind it. And so this conversation is incredibly important because we're getting, boots on the ground industry feedback. So I think Jaime, I have 2 points that I want to make. And one is, thank you so much to all of the industry partners who are here today, but please, please, please talk to your peers in the community because I think one thing sometimes that people don't understand about Nevada, Southern Nevada in particular, is just the amount of diversity and the amount of industry that we do have, right? They see the shiny strip and don't realize, that we have 4,000 manufacturing companies. It's like, it blows their mind. So please, please encourage your peers to come to the table. Your representative voice means a lot. but we need more. And so please encourage your partners. That means I think a lot more coming from you, from to an industry to industry conversation than it is maybe from coming from our perspective. My last thing that I wanted to share is, Tina is absolutely 100% Jaime's team, and Jaime are doers. But I think what's really important about this conversation is that it leads to strategy. And Jaime also really gets that. You have a vision, here are the steps to execute. And so this is really a good piece, because although we're here to listen, we also have action items once you all go back to your day job, right? And so we collectively have to come together and have that strategy conversations. So this isn't, oh great, we all hear you, we all go do our thing out in the field. This also leads to strategy amongst all of these partners that are sitting in the wings. And that's incredibly important to us, because we've all done really amazing things, but this is an opportunity for us to come together and do it together. So thank you.
Thank you for highlighting that, Stacy, because she's absolutely right. What's different about this time, and why I know it's going to be successful, is because, as you saw, the CEO of the LVGA is here. The Governor's Office of Economic Development is here. UNLV is here. Nevada State Still College, maybe hopefully University is here. College of Southern Nevada is here. CCSD is here. Our partners that do the on the ground floor, again, as I told you, these American Job Centers are hosted at libraries, and they're here. The staff that is in those American Job Centers, represented by Yvette and Noah, they are here. And so, and even Crystal Ray, our workforce of the future, they're interested in making sure their students are plugged into the solutions that we're creating. So thank you, Stacey, for saying that. This is not, these industry sector partnerships don't belong to any one of us. That's why they're called our regions. Southern Nevada's industry sector partnerships. You're the most important part, your voice. But as Stacey said, today you're representing your colleagues, and we'd love for you to bring them along as well, include them. We'll rent a larger room, I guess, if we have to, but thank you for being here. So with that, we have barely 5 minutes left in our working lunch before we start to pour in. Let me get signals from the team. How did we do? Are we ready? Okay, so they have gone and done their thing, followed the protocol. Again, if you're interested, research Next Generation Sector Partnerships. It's a national model where regions like ours have, again, brought together industry and developed talent development solutions for their region. So we're going to now focus on the opportunities for collective action next. Any questions so far from anybody? I like to scan the table and say, do we have questions? No? Okay. All right. Well, Tristan's doing his marketing. He's over there making sure that you got his number.
Yeah.
Good job, Tristan. Good job.
Give him that back.
Does everybody have, obviously you all had your lunch. You have water, drinks next to you? If you need something, please let us know. If you need water or more food or anything, please let us know. Okay, so our next thing is, tell me how we're gonna lay this out. Is this gonna be short, mid, or merge them? Oh, both sectors, because they're common? All right, let me tell you what again, I kind of thought this was gonna happen, but we did not want to assume, because we wanted to respect the process. That's what the model says. We intentionally, I don't know if you can tell, we separated the room with an invisible line over here. And those of you in the transportation and logistics are over here, and the clean technologies are over here. And so, and we try to do the exercise still, mind the integrity of the exercise, to expect ideas without influence. But despite our best efforts, what we thought happened has happened. And what it is that you have very common challenges, just like the first three sectors that we convened on different days. And so that's what I'm hearing from the team. So they've grouped you kind of together. So now, if I'm hearing you guys correctly, my team, they're going to work together on the solutions? Yes? Yep. Okay. So when they start to pop up some topics, we're going to start to go around the room and kind of gauge your interest and say, yes, that's something we want to devise a solution on together. Identify something that CCSD, CSN, Workforce Connections, UNLV, Nevada State College, or whoever can help us with. Whether it's, again, something that goes into the CCSD school as a coloring book, whether it's an online platform that allows you to interact with students, you and your company to better interact with students in middle and high school level, whether it's hiring fairs that we talked about, working with Tristan and saying, we want a hiring fair that's just about our sector, and we want to get with all your young people. Whatever solution is, this is the next 90 minutes is going to be about that. So you guys tell me if I can come over here yet and maybe present this one. Yeah. Okay. So the first one on this board is called recruitment and retention. So it says immediate need / lack of qualified workforce. Of course, this is to me the recruitment part. Something common that we've heard is like the first problem, right? I need bodies today. So within that recruitment retention opportunity is what's the right outreach and messaging? What do we do about that? How do we tap into alternate labor pools? And again, I was telling you, we view that as labor pools that don't compete that well in traditional economy. So returning vets with their, barriers to employment, the reentry population, disconnected youth, people with disabilities, an immigrant workforce that while having the permission to work in the United States has other barriers like language, et cetera. So these are alternate labor pools. And then another issue here was soft skills. So I have 4 issues within the recruitment retention category. Who would like to jump on and say, let's talk about this one? This one is, Cecil, go ahead. Can we get Cecil a mic, please? There it comes.
I'll touch on soft skills. We put so much focus and emphasis on intelligence in the workforce that sometimes we step over intuition. As we go forward in business,
Intuition.
I think that a greater focus on a sense of awareness from a soft skills standpoint, things that can't necessarily be seen, felt, or touched. And it also drives culture, right? It's not so much of policies that drive culture, stuff that's written, is stuff was not written, if that makes any sense. So I think greater awareness in that area.
How would you suggest that we as a sector partnership help raise that awareness and help seed that intuition earlier in that candidate?
Well, I just did something that was unsexy. I'm gonna steal your term.
Unsexy.
I went to the CEO and I actually invested in bringing in a consultant to teach EI, emotional intelligence, in the workspace. And that's something that we've never done. We say that our employees are our greatest asset, yet we don't always invest in them. And so I went out on a very thin branch and invested some dollars, and a consultant did a 3-day workshop. Today, they just wrapped their 3-day workshop, and it was emotional in the room. It was, it was a little bit of everything, but some walls were torn down, and we invested this emotional intelligence in our highest branch of senior leadership. So our management went through it in hopes that now they can start sharing some of those best practices down into the supervisory and then the frontline employees.
Thank you. That's specific. I'm going to come to Dacia next. I want to throw in there that, again, the city of Las Vegas, through their American Recovery Plan dollars, has sent us specific funds to implement some of the stuff that you're needing. And when we talk about the upskilling piece, that was included, meaning, this equipping people with the intuition, not just analytical and technical, but intuition, emotional tools they need to move up the career ladder is one of them. So thank you for saying that, Dacia.
So I'm going to tag on to Cecil because you saw me clap. When it comes to soft skills, it's all sides of that conversation. So I was in a manager training yesterday put on by my organization. The majority of the people in the room were managers who've been promoted through technical roles, right? So they're mainly engineers. And then there's my brain in the room. And there was an individual who chose to be vulnerable, which is an interesting word that we don't use enough in the workforce, to admit that he had been promoted because of his technical expertise. And he is probably one of the best we have in the organization. And he admitted he doesn't know how to manage. Right. And so I would challenge all of us when we talk about retention, when we talk about soft skills, we have to look internally, because to Cecil's part, I cannot tell you how many times I've had to sit down in my career when I did recruitment, which I don't anymore, and say, hey, Jaime, I realize that Dasha doesn't have all the skills you want, but let's look at all the things that she has proven to be able to do, right? Is she adaptable? Is she trainable? And so it's not just making sure the workforce has it, which is part of a different part of the conversation, but it's making sure we're training management. And so I would say that that's something that I don't know most organizations know how to do, even the larger ones. Even in my organization, we're spending a great amount of time and effort around the leadership side, but not necessarily the management side. So I challenge all of us when we talk about soft skills, ask yourself if you've done a SWOT of yourself and your management team. And do you have the soft skills at all the layers of the people that are managing those? Because again, if I don't feel connected, I'm leaving an organization, and my connection is my frontline supervisor. My connection is not this crazy HR person sitting before everybody today. So soft skills is all parts of that conversation.
Thank you. Yes, Ash.
So I don't want to beat a dead horse now, but I 100% agree with the EQ being the skills for the future. McKinsey did a study just at the outset of the pandemic, because if you remember, a lot of the jobs just overnight they just like went out, and they said, okay, well, what are the skills needed for the future? And they plotted the typical consulting thing, 4 quadrants, and label all the different skill sets. But the majority of it, if you look at it, was EQ. It was emotional intelligence, and I personally myself, I'm a very big proponent of it. I hire only for emotional intelligence, and then I teach where I can the actual role that the person needs to do. I have, I've been in cultures before here in South Korea where EQ was not really, they're very intelligent, but the EQ is not really taught in schools. So to bring it back to the solutions, how do I promote EQ in the workplace, and how do I think we can tackle it in the education system? Because I also studied in 10 schools in 12 years in 5 different cultures, different school systems. So I've seen what works and what doesn't work. So in the workplace side, I think what I tend to do, and I think my organization does very well, is we have a lot of team projects. So we put teams together and we expose people to, because EQ is about getting along with others and working well to accomplish a task. So we tend to take people out of their regular jobs, promote them within team projects, and from that they learn those what we call soft skills. So that's a big part of it. Whether it's cross-cultural or not, that depends on the organization, but we tend to do a lot of cross-cultural. On the youth side, on the K-12, I think, just having been again in school systems where they just focus on academics and school systems that didn't, I think, again, it was from early on in some, middle schools and high schools that I've seen, they were just very strong on promoting, for example, critical thinking, again, sports, so those things that I saw that really, because, you look at athletes, you look at coaches, they're really good at that, right? So I was very impressed by I finished in the Canadian system, and they really promoted that. And the kids that were graduating, they were really strong on those. So I would say, like, again, in the having kids exposed to working together is more important than just having them like deliver well academically, and sports is one of them, and school projects is another.
Thank you, Ash. As you can see, a robust conversation is emerging on this subject, which is usually a signal for us that it might end up as one of the finalists on a small list of deliverables. So let me again, I know you're far away. I'm going to read the things that are here so you can advocate, because it is your voice. I don't want to pick them. You guys have to pick the 3, 4. We could end up with a list of 10, but it's going to take us a while to work down that list. So we're targeting the first top 3 things that you identify. And again, if those top 3 things is something already in motion, then we move down that list. But let me read them. So in the recruitment retention area, we've talked about soft skills, or EQ, as an important thing to really develop solutions for. The alternate labor pools, outreach and messaging, And then, of course, the warm bodies today, immediate needs, lack of qualified workforce. So think about that, because I need you to advocate and say, I want that. I don't want to, because if the 90 minutes go by, it'll probably stay at the bottom of the list. Then we have a K through 12 youth category where we talked about career exploration being important, that exposure, because we can't wait till it's high school to tell them about the jobs in clean technologies or in transportation and logistics. We got to do it earlier. Teacher externships was something there, and also parents. As we heard, it can't just be the kids, it has to be education to the whole community, the parents included. Over here we have a third category called work-based learning, of which you have apprenticeship, internships, and of course upskilling your existing workforce. And over here finally, skills for the new tech. This is a category I haven't seen before. Yeah. Okay, skills for the new tech, and it's about changing technologies that require different skill sets. I do remember a couple of posts saying evolving technologies, it's evolving skill acquisition processes. So those are the categories, and again, raise your hands because we want to hear your voice. I think Soft Skills has made a case. What else do you want to talk about? Yes, I have Brenda right there.
Thank you. So I'm going to tackle the alternative
labor pools.
Yeah. Can't see that.
I know, that's what I read it. Thank you.
I think I dated myself. I can't see that far. But what we've done is we've really partnered with people like the U.S. Vets, Department of Veteran Services, and we find them to be the best employees. They really do make very, very good employees. So we've stepped outside of the box of traditional of doing the job fairs and all of that. And we've really looked at all the different sectors that it is. And so the U.S. Vex and Department of Veterans Affairs, also, like I said, the Hope for Prisoners, the Chosen for Success, things like that, that if you can just open yourselves up a little bit more, then you can see that you can broaden your employee pool. So that's been a big, big help for us. Also, I do want to say that I attended a Southern Nevada Business Elite meeting last month. And through that meeting, we were able to take back a lot of things that they gave to us as employers is what we could be doing better in the community. And one of them was, as I said, everybody that comes out does not really want to really apply for the job, but they want to learn more about your organization. So I did some meet and greets at a lot of your facilities and met with a lot of potential employees. They just wanted to learn more about MV Transportation. We were able to provide them with that information, and lo and behold, more people applied just by you answering the questions before they physically applied.
Brenda, let me see if I can repeat back what I heard, because there was a lot bundled in there. Brenda's been really good at figuring out this public workforce development system. You heard her mention some names earlier that not a lot of people know, but she knows who to connect to if she wants a talent pool from the reentry. She knows who to connect to if she wants vets. She knows what a Job Connect Center is and a one-stop center. And so that's one thing I heard. If you want to have better awareness and connectivity to these opportunities, you know, that might be something that I heard Brenda talk about, a knowledge of the workforce system and this talent development pipeline, again, that starts at CCSD. Another thing I heard her say there was that, you know, there's this, I lost my thought. You go ahead, Cecil. Can we have a mic?
Yeah, I just want to take you back.
Yeah, please.
It'll give you time to find your thought too.
Thank you.
You know, when he
Tina,
regurgitates
you
information, that's the engineer side of him, right? I've had the good fortune to spend a lot of nights on the phone with him. I want to piggyback on what Brenda talked about, creating new pipelines and alternative labor pools, something that we had to do. We had to get creative this year. Formally, you had to enter into our doors with a CDL, commercial driver's license permit, to be onboarded. We had to change the way we do business. We started hiring folks with regular Class C license and teaching and training, right, to get the permit. So we actually pay you as you learn. And we had to get creative just because the pool began to shrink. You know, in the last rolling 12 months, we've onboarded somewhere around 400 plus candidates. Over 50% of them had no permit when they walked in the door. And we have about a 90% success rate of individuals going through our CDL prep program and actually going down to get their permit. So, to your point, we had to get creative in business and find new solutions and new ideas to be able to attract those individuals that are now our employees.
So thank you for the time. I remember my thought. So I also heard in there bundled in Brenda's thing about, people don't know about the opportunities in your companies and your organizations. And so how do we solve that? Again, many ways, but one of the things that we want to do with Tristan and Ryan in the school district is we know we can't have hiring fairs all the time, but we can have career fairs. We can have opportunities for the kids to learn about what does it take to get here and this other position and this position, and tell them that you don't have to get there in one jump. You come work for us and upskill through the community college and Nevada State and UNLV. And so that I heard in there. Am I correct hearing you right? Okay, so we're capturing that, right? So I have a hand up. I forgot where the hand, over here, Trudy.
I actually see the two of those kind of blended together, those two right there. And the reason I do is you've got to teach the soft skills and that project management, team orientation when they're in school. CCSD actually does that, right? So with their the programs they have and working with Tristan and some of the other schools, I've actually gone into SEPTA and I see how they put project management teams together. You're having to learn to work together. So you got to start there. You can't just have a loner and then go, I need for now you to figure out how to work with someone. So I actually see a lot of stuff starting with the K through 12 and youth. And I do want to piggyback on some of the other things that were said there, that the career exploration, while we're out there teaching our students in the schools and our counselors, we're teaching the parents. I had a lot of calls from parents who said, I never thought about being a meter operations electrician or a substation electrician, but what is that? We actually pick up people, adults, who we would love to have. I mean, granted, we got to train, our future. We got to get our legacy set. I'm really a big legacy person. Like, I'm getting old and I want someone to take over after me, and I want it to be sustainable after me. You start that in school. And then it starts building your future recruitment, right? So the parents, I can't underemphasize the importance for me of training. My parents are from another country, okay? So I know personally what that looked like and felt like. So my parents didn't know how to educate me. I had to educate myself. So I'm very passionate about getting the kids to take the message home, educating the parents. You might get a double whammy out of that by building that program right there and creating your recruitment future. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So Jake, I'm hearing here say, if you guys are keeping an eye out for common themes, whether it's through the outreach or messaging or including parents in the K through 12 strategy, I'm hearing her say, double whammy. So what we do has to reach both, right? Has to reach those parents. My parents are immigrants too. I'm an immigrant. My kids can say that about me. So we need to be reaching those parents that perhaps also don't have the knowledge, don't speak the language, and have to overcome barriers to be a part of the solution that you need. So kids and parents. Okay, thank you, Trudy. Who else wants to jump in and make sure that none of this is staying out of the list that you want us to work on? Cecil. Remember, I'm going to come pick on you if you don't.
This is my last one. Dr. Ronaldo, it was good to see you. I went over and visited his school yesterday, and he had two students that.
Crystal Ray?
Crystal Ray. Beautiful campus.
Yep.
Phenomenal students.
Yep.
Just a beautiful spirit in the facility, but that wasn't my comment. I saw him. And one thing, it's easy for us to say, to do the group studies, the capstone, and the project management in school. The mindset is shifting. The way our children, right, and the young people approach the world is completely different than the way we did. They're very isolated. We have to put certain provisions in the house, or else I'll have all my kids with their head down at, looking at YouTube while we're eating dinner. Though your mom and dad may have been untutored or immigrants, they still taught you guys core values. And that is why you want to leave a legacy. And that is why you guys are contributing. I will say, as we go forward, and I don't really know what this looks like, but more mentorship will be required. We were taught 20, 30 years ago, keep your head down, dig your heels deep in the sand, go to work. We were also taught, how do we add value to our place of business? Today, the mindset is shifted. They walk in the door saying, you know, what does the benefit package look like? It's no longer adding value, but what can I get?
Can I work from home?
Can I work from home? Right? And so there's going to be more hand holding, almost a concierge service within your establishment. I heard somebody say earlier that there's mentorship programs within the walls. More of that will be needed as we go forward in business. And that transcends over retention, culture, right? Upward mobility. I hear a lot about that, but it's going to stem from that hand-holding, that mentorship program.
Thank you.
That's my last comment.
No, please don't let it be the last. I'm gonna pick on my friends from the RTC because they're not, like MJ was saying, maybe not. You are a large employer, but and then through Keolis and MV, even a larger impact on our workforce. So, which one of these subjects do you want to advocate for on behalf of RTC?
Well, there's so many good ones. Hard to really choose, but let's go with career exploration. And the reason why I say that is in the past, I had the joy of actually creating an internship. And part of doing this was first outreaching to different schools. I work with CSN, and I actually work with Northwest Technical Academy. And we went beyond that. When we were talking with these people, they said, you know, young folks today aren't necessarily sure where they want to go. And again, I think that goes back to just the early education. And I think your workbook is fantastic because it starts to bring in things that the younger people would be interested in doing, or at least they didn't know it, but maybe they saw something and thought, I could do that. Well, we went as far as going out to grades 5 through 6, 7, and talking with some of the students, and then inviting them to our facility. They had never walked through a maintenance shop until that point, and some of it fascinated them. We actually had plenty of machinery. We started letting them play with some of the controls, and what we found was some of the students said, hey, I'm actually getting into robotics. I really like this. And some of them started talking about drone technology. And it was interesting to me to see just how young some of these people started saying, I want to start doing this. And so I think it's the exposure of getting out early enough and interacting with them. And when I said I did an internship, these students couldn't actually come to work for us yet. But what we could do is we could bring them in and do a job shadowing with them. And they could see what it is to be a day in somebody else's life. And does that interest them? And maybe it wasn't exactly what we were showing up at the time, but they might have saw something else at our facility that did interest them. And so just the exposure and the interactions back and forth is really something that shouldn't be overlooked if it's possible to do that. You know, bring your kids to work day. That's always fascinating because, you know, they would come in and they would see a little bit about what mom or dad might be doing. But then they might see something there that they say, hey, I can do this too. So I think that's something that we really need to continue focusing on because as it was, you know, that happens once a year or, you know, occasionally when we get out and we're able to interact with the students. In the end, we were doing these at least 3 to 5 times a year, and we found we were getting a lot of really good reaction with that. So I think that's a great place to start.
Thank you, Alan. And I think, again, career exploration, it can happen across that whole spectrum, right? Imagine when we did this with Trudy and MV Energy, you know, there's jobs here on this page that are 6-figure jobs. And so, again, in Keolis, I know I've visited RTC, there's diesel mechanics making 6 figures. And so how can we communicate at an early age that there's lots of possibilities? So a 6-figure salary is not only attainable through a 4-year degree and a master's and a doctor, which we need that too. We need architects and engineers and all those things still. But there's other options that can also be high reward, high pay, good benefits. And so I don't know if, again, at the end of the day, if it's something that you guys want is the transportations and logistics sector as an industry, you get to choose which 6 occupations are in the front. But there's also room for 14 more here through word puzzles and things. So again, this is early exposure, but it's more than that. We're working, as we talked about with the district, on those students visiting your facilities. So, and you visiting them in middle school. And again, giving them information early. So that career exploration, I think, has many levels and opportunities. So thank you, Alan, for saying that. I saw a hand raised over there. Tim, and then I come to Mary.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I have to go. My mom is at that age where I have to take her to all her appointments. And so we have one this afternoon. But if I can jump ahead to the end. So you've all heard of ESG. It's this, environmental social governance criteria that the SEC has put out for corporations. I work for a company that's publicly traded. And there's never been a time I've been, getting financing. I'm the finance guy, getting financing for renewable energy projects for 13 or 14 years. And before that, I was a banker. In my 20 years of doing this kind of stuff, there's never been this much momentum at our backs. And so recently I had a conversation where I had to ask my company, we want to do something we haven't done before. And they said yes. We want to do something else we haven't done before. And they said yes. And then we asked for a third thing and they said yes. And yesterday I was on the phone with a couple of vice presidents and a couple of directors, and we budgeted for those items. And so under Skills for New Tech, I'd say don't be afraid to ask. It is a great time. The incentive from the Inflation Reduction Act is there. The momentum from the SEC regulations for ESG reporting are there. There has never been a time where you're going to get a yes out of your leaders and your senior management folks as there is right now. And it's really encouraging. So I'm very excited. So thank you for having me.
Tim, thank you for coming and saying that, because I'll give you some concrete examples that he's right. The reason we're here and your voice is important, as Tim said, is because elected officials are listening. And so again, I think I said it earlier, the city of Las Vegas has awarded for these industry sector partnership solutions $1 million. There's 1.6 from our congressional congressional delegation through what they call community funding projects. And Dieter, thanks to Noah's team over there, Dieter just gave us $500,000 or $500,000 for more of this upskilling. And so he's absolutely right. There's a large investment and there's more to come, as you heard. But this is a time for industry to say, let the investments mean something. Let the investments be guided by our voice and not the bureaucrats, right? So that's what we want you to hear. So I didn't get to say bye. I want to say bye to Tim, but Mary, you're next.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to career exploration. So I think that that's so important. I love what you're doing with the coloring books and starting at the early ages, but I also think that middle school, high school is the time to kind of expose kids to all of the different opportunities that are out there. A lot of them are very, very busy. They're doing school, they're on social media, they're just trying to make it through, and they're not really forced or able to look beyond that and explore different opportunities. And so this conversation today is really sort of highlighted for me opportunities that the Water District and Water Authority can provide opportunities for career exploration, because it's incredible when I talk to people just, at our organization, what a wide range of career paths we have, and I mentioned earlier, I started in legal and now I'm the HR director. And if I didn't want to continue in legal at the Water District, I would have gone outside of that, but there were other opportunities. And it was me who mentioned kind of the mentorship program that we have, because we have a lot of people coming in and maybe it's not their forte, but we have so many different opportunities. And so that's one of the things that we've really tried to highlight. And I want to be able to highlight that to kids who are middle school, high school, who are going to be choosing their electives, who don't know what these career paths look like. Because a lot of times, and we mentioned it before, it kind of comes from your own exposure at home. And I didn't have a ton of exposure to different, opportunities. It was, I'm from Carson City, Nevada, and there's only a certain number of things you do in Carson City, Nevada. There's not a whole lot of, different industries and opportunities, and we have that here. And so being able to highlight that for kids so that they can choose the different classes and opportunities that they can go into, I think is huge. I think it's going to be very, very important. And I think we all have an opportunity to do that and highlight that for these kids so that they can sort of work towards those different career paths that interest them. And
Let's say by Ms. Tina quickly.
Hi, Tina.
I got you.
Help me track some. But I was just going to finish, and maybe it's not going to college, maybe it is fleet, or maybe it is some other type of industry because that's their passion, right? But not knowing how they can translate their passion into a career, I think is important for us in our organizations to be able to provide.
Mary, what I take away from your comments is not just the content, but I don't know if you guys agree, it's the passion with what she says it, right? She really, and it is common. You guys all agree with it. So I think what I hear you saying, if you have a vote, one of the deliverables you want from us is to, again, help you and put in place methodologies, processes by which you as employers and industries can be a part of more meaningful career exploration for Ryan's kids, for Tristan's kids. And there's existing mechanisms that they have, or if we need to build new ones, we'll build new ones. But Ryan, Tristan, am I hearing that correctly? Right? Exposure, early, middle, high. And it comes in many flavors. So I've heard you loud and clear. That's going to be on the list. Anybody want to jump on? Yes, Trudy.
I love that conversation. So I had an aha moment as you were talking. So I coordinate all of the events that we attend, mostly elementary schools, construction day through the NCAA that CSN sponsors. That's awesome. I'm trying to remember the last time a middle school asked us to come talk. You hit it right on the head. Like there are models in place right now that work, but it's almost like we're missing the most critical population, which is that middle school, where you're really starting to get them to think about the choices and giving them opportunities to look at those assessments. So I love what you just said. I think that's, to me, that middle piece is missing right now.
Thank you, Trudy. Anybody else like to jump on that subject of exposure? Yes, Cindy.
So I guess for me, I'm just kind of struggling a little bit because like, what's the path? Like, how do they get there? Like, how do kids know what avenues or what skill set, what training, what classes, what electives, like for all of us, right? For all of our positions. And originally I was going to talk about the last one about training for new technologies, right? But it all kind of goes hand in hand. It has to be super intimidating, right? For youth or even students who have just graduated to be thinking about, yes, we can expose them to all these great things and all these great opportunities, but how do they get there? Like, there are some who will have the parents at home or the mentors who will say, this is how you get there. This is how you do it. Just apply, right? But for many, they don't even know the path to take to get there because it's so intimidating. So anyways, that's just
Cindy, thank you. I'm going to, yes. The mic over here, please.
Okay.
Oh, everybody's going to jump in. I want to go back to you too in a second.
And I think you're right. The one thing I'll add that's been really successful at the Water District is we have a summer hire program. And so if we can sort of pair what we're talking about here and then get these kids in who are paired with someone in that area and they are exposed on a daily basis during a summer program, then that might be a way. I think there are other ways that we can do that, but that is something that we do that we've found really helpful because it really gives them an opportunity to say, hey, this is of interest to me, they go through the summer and they're like, yeah, not really for me. Or, yeah, I want to explore that more. And we do pair them with a mentor who then kind of talks them through at the end of the summer things that they can do to work towards that path.
I saw Dacia. Yeah.
I'm not sure which hat I'm wearing in this conversation right now.
Your Kentucky Derby one.
It feels like one right now. Part of that, I guess I take it, and I'm asking the question to CCSD and to the principal. I happen to have been very happy with all my son's teachers so far, so I promise I'm a supporter. But I'm sitting here listening to all of us, right? And we have a shared need when it comes to technology, and we have shared needs of drivers, and there's shared needs. But my question is, how many of us have helped CCSD to even understand what all those pathways are, let alone where to start? Like, what are they? So I'm sitting here and Brenda and I are talking earlier, and I work in an industry that is being developed, right? It doesn't really exist in a full sense yet. And there's permitting, and you don't necessarily need a college degree to know how to do permitting, but you need to know how to do research. And how does CCSD even know that this is a career option for a kid, let alone how do we get them there? Like, how do we know it's available? And, having sat on the board and I know Jaime and his one child. Don't know both of them yet, and my son is his father is an immigrant, right? There is different access points, and my son is lucky enough to have me as one of those parents. But I also struggled with it. Like, middle school in 2022 is not the same as middle school in 87 or 86 or whatever year that was. Right. And I sat there helping him with his electives, and I was like, I don't even know what that elective means. No clue what this option is. And he luckily got into things he likes. But if I don't know, what are we all doing collectively to help the majority of this community? And I'm going to drive it back. And I know, Councilwoman Diaz has spoken up about this a lot. We have an immense population of people who did not grow up here. They've migrated, immigrated, moved, upscaled their entire lives to be in this valley. What are we collectively, the schools, the employers, the politicians, doing to make sure that people even know what path, what are the options? And to your point, I grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico, so the state capital as well. Like, I knew tourism and government. How I ended up in HR, we'll never know. Right? I didn't know what I didn't know. I can't even imagine what it's like to grow up in this town, to be honest with you.
Yep. Did you see you go your hand? Because I know. Okay, we can come back to you. Finish up. But you guys have raised a really important point, and I want to go again to Tristan and Ryan to speak up for CCSD. Again, this formula that we're following is they have to wait patiently, and they have. And so, but you brought up a question. I want to know from CCSD, what can we do? Now, again, as I said earlier, Mary's right. There's several ways that this can be done at multiple levels, digitally, in person. I mean, there's all kinds of ways. And when we, again, are already starting a few, as I said, but I definitely want to hear. Tom, you're already in line too? Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay, so, okay, go ahead, Tom.
I just want to address what you were talking about. We actually received funding because we've been listening. I've been hearing all this to do middle school camps, and they're STEM-oriented camps. And our goal for these camps is to expose them to, I think there's going to be six different kind of STEM career paths. And when they're there, we want to have Tristan and other people from CCSD. We want UNLV there. We want CSN there to help explain. And we want different employers to come in to talk about what are the many careers you can do from, like, robotics. We did a robotics class. This is the skills you learn in robotics. It applies to all these different careers. And here are some different pathways to enter all of them, from working on the manufacturing line to getting your PhD in engineering, right? And so, and like I said, it's a nonlinear path. You don't have to start on one and stay on it forever. You can move between them. But this is an opportunity, because you're right. We were fortunate. I wasn't first gen. I wasn't new. So going into high school, I knew what my kids needed to do. And so we have a lot of information that we can share. We don't need to be gatekeepers of that information. We should be giving it out, helping people learn how to navigate. And if you really want to be whatever it is you want to be, this is the path to go, and don't make a mistake as a freshman in high school, but not preparing yourself when you're a freshman in college.
Thank you, Tom. Ryan, you want to go first and then go Tristan, or I don't care about the order, but
Yeah, I'll get Tristan next. I think the secret's out for schools like mine. We had 4,500 applications last year for 500 seats. There's a demand in the community for this type of career training. There is no easy solution for pipeline work. It's a local, small relationship business. It's you getting to know a prospective employer. It can't be the superintendent working with the CEO. It has to be an HR rep or a plant manager working with me, the principal, and better off the teacher who's in the classroom. If it's more than one handshake away from that kid, the jobs don't connect. And so I just if you haven't been out to the school, they're not coming to you. You know that. If you're in the classrooms, if you're working with me or whatever principal is near you or whatever program makes sense, we're going to find a way to make sure our kids have access to high skill work. If you're a good employer who cares about your employees, pays them right, treats them right, has a career ladder, shows them how their future can change and their demographics can change forever because of your opportunity, you're the first person I'm going to call when I got a great kid. And I'm not going to put my reputation on a poor employee. So when you get to know me, then you also get to know here's the best 5 kids I got for you. And I'm not going to recommend these 2 because they haven't earned it yet. So just come out, talk with us. If you haven't been in the classroom, if you're just waiting for them to come to you, you know how well that's working. So let's get together and figure out how we can do this together. Tristan can talk about a system-wide twist.
Yeah.
So the short answer is you are spot on with the middle school. It is the most ignored population of our student population. Everybody loves elementary. Everybody loves reading books to elementary. And everybody loves to hire high school kids. Middle's middle. And so we have engaged through the Department of Ed some career and technical education classes, courses that have now substituted for the career explorations course. And they're geared more towards sectors, if you will, that align with what we're talking about today and other conversations. So there is a breach of that. The challenge, though, is Stacy mentioned that there's about 4,000 manufacturers in Southern Nevada. And I think most of the people who are on the listening side of this conversation have heard me repeatedly say, where can I find a table that has the majority of the employers that sit at that table? How can I reach out to you? And when we're writing the standards for energy, when we're writing the standards for diesel or whatever, how can I get employers at that table to help write the standards so that the standards match what you want our students to know exiting high school? And it's hard to get you because you're busy. And there's really not one table that you all sit at. And so part of the sort of back and forth with us is we can't find you. You don't knock on our doors. And where's the middle ground where we can all meet and kind of hash this out? And so that's the rub in all of that. And we're breaking ground because then I'll reach out to Dieter, I'll reach out to Workforce Connections, I'll reach out to GoEd, and collectively I'm finding many of you, nowhere near the 4,000, but I'm reaching out to many of you. And there's a few houses that are 10 people, and then I've got the Teslas that are 8,000 or whatever. And Tesla's hiring 40 to 60 kids a year. And I'm busting them up and I'm flying them up to Reno every year. So our kids are employable and they are getting hired and they're staying. On a side note, I will say this. As a Clark County School District graduate, we were always told, get out of town, go to college out of town, and then if you want to come back and so forth. As a high school teacher for 14 years, these graduates that we're having overwhelmingly don't want to leave. They do not want to leave. And it doesn't matter what shade of skin color. It's not socioeconomic based or whatever. It's Palo Verde, it's Sunrise Mountain, it's Rancho, it's Eldo. These youth want to stay. And they want a salary that allows them to stay. And I've, as a teacher, have made scholarship opportunities for kids to go to Colorado or other places to make it so it's equally affordable to go to out-of-state versus going to UNLV. They're not cutting the cord to leave the house. They're not cutting the cord to leave grandma or whomever the family unit is. And so the retention thing, arguably with these groups of high school graduates, it's easier because they don't want to go. but I got to get them in your doors first. And if we can find a way to bring you into our schools, introduce you to the students, get the students to your sites if you're if you're willing to bring 30 to 50 kids. I've got a charter bus budget that's respectable enough to get a lot of students into your shops. But we're working with Jaime and other members of Dieter and Workforce. October 7th is Manufacturing Day. We're bringing manufacturers to our schools so you can see the students working on Amatrol trainers, Laguna CNC machines, Haas CNC machines. I want you to see the equipment that's in these labs that these students are accessing and learning, so you can realize it's not your daddy shop class anymore. It is new, it is improved, it is mechanical, it is automation. The kids are learning valuable skills, and they're doing it in teams, they're doing it independently, they're doing it supervised, they're doing it unsupervised. And so it's a matter of, I need to change the hearts and minds of industry to let you know what we're really putting out in terms of a work product. And you need to see what we're doing so that you realize that, dang, secondary schools are really putting out a workplace, because, if we're in a Zoom one more time and somebody says you guys need to bring back shop classes again, I'm going to lose all my hair.
Look what happens when you ask somebody to sit patiently, right, and listen. There's all that pent up emotion. But
I'm telling you, Soapbox, he knows to keep the mic away from me.
Thank you, Tristan. We're going to round. I'm going to go to Dr. M in just a second and remind you we have 15 minutes. We're going to round to the final stretch here in a second. I wanted to remind you that this long-term solution, hopefully, Cindy, Dacia, Cecil, Mary, we addressed the issue. It is not going to happen overnight, right? The solutions are not immediate, but there is a commitment, as you can see across the ecosystem, to connect your needs to what's happening as deep and as early in CCSD. So that's what these industry sector partnerships are all about. We don't reach the final solutions today. We launched this partnership, and over the next few weeks and months, we're going to be inviting you to not necessarily in person, they're Zoom. So you can join by Zoom. They're a lot shorter. They're 30, 45, maybe 1 hour long meetings that we can bottle up, if you will, finish up and say, okay, this is what you wanted. I'm going to choose a hypothetical example that in January of 23, we're going to have Transportations and Logistics Day, that, as he just said, manufacturing, right? Or that I want ABC, that's what we're going to work on. Because again, the whole point here is to make sure that the investments that CCSD, CSA, and UNLV we're all making is to meet your needs. So with that, Dr. Emmerich, I'm going to come to you for some thoughts.
One of the challenges we were having at UNLV, one of the discussions we're having is how do we get students to translate the skills that they're learning in the classroom and the experiences that they're having. We know that employers are looking at skills, but our students don't yet know how to articulate that. We need to train faculty in making sure that they translate that learning. And they have team projects. They should be talking about why teams are important, how that's important in the workplace. And I don't want you to assume that college students know what they want to do, because they also don't know the questions to ask. They also don't know the steps they should be making to get employment. And then as employers, I want to suggest that you also think about the variability of majors that we have at UNLV. So sometimes you make connections with the College of Engineering, but you also need HR specialists. You need marketing specialists. You need people who critically think, right? We've got philosophy majors who also don't know what to do with their careers. And so we have to think broader. We have to recruit from a broader sense of a broader sense. And we have to teach our students to look at their skills and look across industry sectors to see where their skills match. And so that's helpful for us. I know that we're just starting these discussions, and I think our challenge is going to get the faculty. The young faculty are excited about this work. The old faculty, that's another issue, right? So we're working to try to train faculty to have these discussions, because the faculty are so important in the students' journey in college. But if they don't hear it from them, if they don't make those connections in the classroom, it's not going to happen. So just.
Thank you. Dr. M. I saw my clock is 1:47, so that's the one that's accurate. So I'm going to start our final exercise, which is based on the conversations you've heard all day today. We've identified common challenges you have. We've dialogued about opportunities for collective action. What we would like to walk away today with is some targets, right? Again, to say, and this is hypothetical, it's that industry day that Tristan's talked about. It's that coloring book. It's this, I mentioned it, it's an online platform that the state of Nevada bought. It used to be called NEPRIS, but now it's called Pathway what? Yeah, Pathful Connect or something. I hate it when they change names of software, but it's really a virtual way to connect industry to the classroom. And so if a company says, I want to connect, but I can't be there in person, the teacher can do online stuff with you in his or her classroom. You can describe positions, again, career pathways, occupation, skill sets. So it's just a way to engage. Again, there's many ways. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick on my friend Mary, and I'm going to start on this end. And I'm going to ask each one of you to pick, based on what we talked about, what would you like to see delivered to you over the next few weeks and months? You know what, for this industry, I'll be, again, the clean technologies folks, and over here, transportation and logistics. And we'll check in with the people who had to leave too before we officialize everything. But we like to maybe try to narrow down to a list of what you would like to see delivered, right? Based on, again, the resources that these industry sector partnerships have been awarded to help address these challenges. So, Mary, are you ready to pick and say, yes, of everything I've heard, I would like to see these two things worked on as solutions to our challenges, to our common challenges?
So I think just what I talked about before and what you mentioned, just getting that platform that you've already used in other places. I think we would love to be a part of that and see that and make those connections that we just talked about. I think for us, that would be huge. So utilizing some of the different, you know, like I said, platforms or ways that you've connected organizations with these groups in the past, we would like to see.
To middle school and high school specifically, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So platforms to connect the needs of their industry to the classroom, to CCSD really. And then, but I love with Cecilia was saying too, that, and Tom and Frank, that it's not just the CCSD graduates that are your potential workers, it's their graduates too, right? The CSN graduates, the UNLV graduates, the Nevada State graduates, it's them too. So I love that this conversation highlighted that. So Mary, thank you. You're going to stay with one. You can do two. I don't want to force you, but you like this one. You love this
I
one.
like that one. The
Okay.
other one that I would say is just, you know, we do have specific positions that we're sort of struggling with now, and connecting with the higher education to see if there's a way that we can bridge whatever gaps we have in making those connections to our openings and, you know, those qualified candidates that may be out there who are looking for opportunities.
So these are professional positions that require a higher ed and,
Yep.
oh, great.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll follow up then between the employer and the higher ed to target their graduates for specific positions. Brian.
Hey, good afternoon, team. So, you know, being in the environmental service industry, so on this side, but we're really in the transportation.
Yeah, it's just what you move, huh?
Right. Yeah. So we move around, but you think about, you know, kind of what we do, and I think about, you know, all the things we talked about is really work-based learning. So for us as a company, we have two. We have a CDL school that we invest in. This in the Midwest. And we have a diesel technician school that we open in Texas that we send students from all over the country. But for this particular market and the challenge, because again, we have customer service rep, so we have higher education, so our finance, you know, our business department, our business development partners, our general managers, our leadership team. But then we have our frontline workforce, which is the vast majority of every workforce. How do we tap into them? And it's more about the apprenticeship, you know, being in there. But it's one thing that Cecil talked about. What I like to echo on is it's the sponsorship, but it's mentorship, but it's also sponsorship. So how do we get to schools and get to parents? Because really it's going to be about educating the parent to go educate the student. So for us to talk about recycling and educating people on the right thing to do, we go to the schools and talk to the kids, right?
Yeah.
And the kids go tell they'll end up being the police for the parents for us. How do we educate the parents so that they create that path for their kids so they can understand, so they can articulate it to them to help them understand what they want to do? And I think a lot of it is, when you think about the burden, you got a third of the kids are going to go to college, you got a third that's going to the military, and you got a third that's going to join the American workforce, right? And then I think we're trying to solve for kind of all of it, but it's almost, most of it's going to be the people that go directly into the workforce. How do we go grab them and then, use dollars so that they understand that, because people walk away with, how am I going to fund this, especially in underserved communities? So when you talk about the transportation logistics side, and a professional driver, we have over 19,000 drivers. I have over 750 in this market. But when you talk about, hey, you got to spend $6,000 to get a CDL, the average person is going like, I'm not going to do that. So how do you do kind of what Cecil said? How do we bring them in? How do we educate them? How do we give them that kind of onboarding and sponsor that? So I think I'm stuck with that work-based learning.
Okay.
And there's a variety of other methods that we can utilize.
You can I went it under his name there. He wanted Wicked. So he cheated. So don't do what he did. He put everything under one thing. He put outreach messaging. He put this and that. I need you to pick one or two things. But I heard you. So we got you. So if you could tell me one or two things that you want us to do. But I heard him what he said.
No pressure, right?
Okay.
I really like Mary's first topic.
Okay.
I think it's great tapping into the middle and high school. I think that's important for us. And then the second would be the work-based learning. We currently hire service technicians who go into your home to start service or move service. And it takes us about 6 months to get them trained until they go out on the field. So I'd love to do something that would allow us to even cut that down by 2 months. And then that way we can get people out quicker. So I think both of those would be great for us.
Did you catch both of them? One more, can you repeat it? He wasn't, yeah. One more.
Sorry, Mary's number one, the platform for middle and high school. And then the second was the work-based learning, trying to cut down the training for once we hire them.
Okay, work-based learning once hired. Cut down that time. Thank you. Trudy.
I'm going with Mary.
Okay.
I like the K through 12, that whole platform.
Number one, same as.
That whole platform, identifying middle school. And I do like the work-based learning as my number two, because I do believe that we are missing opportunities for internships, apprenticeships. And we're working on that, but I think we need to do a little bit more work there.
Okay.
I like the fact that what Tristan mentioned, I love the fact that I've developed relationships with schools and the teachers call me and say, hey, I got someone for you. And I talk to that kid. The library does the same thing. They call me and say, I've got someone for you. Those are the kind of relationships we need to build as leaders to get those people in the door, because I trust these people to know the kids that are coming up.
Thank you, Trudy. So I heard her say again, part of this is to connect you more meaningfully to those resources that are here. She said work-based learning. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a work-based learning workshop here for the 3 first sectors, because it was a common theme. And we're going to send you today, we'll send you the email with the summary of the video of that day, right? Looking at Sonia Adrena, let's make sure that we can send that out to these two groups. So thank you, Trudy. Cecil, you're next. What 1-2 things do you want us to focus on?
Work-based learning, sure.
Okay. Cecil?
Can you hear me? All right.
Work-based learning?
Yep. And then the other one is EQ, emotional intelligence.
Yep. Okay.
That's key critical.
Very good. Thank you, Cecil. Jocelyn?
Yeah, so I've got to put on kind of a government hat that I've got right now, based on the airport and being part of Clark County and knowing that there are limitations and restrictions. I love the work-based learning. However, apprenticeships aren't something that we as an entity are able to do. So we're always required to hire people with the skill set already. So until that's an HR decision or an HR, that's a change within an organizational change. So I'm gonna go with career exploration.
Okay.
I think getting people. I was born and raised in Mesquite, Nevada, and there you see, the city jobs and the county jobs and, water reclamation jobs or water district jobs, et cetera, but you don't really know what that all entails. Same thing with the airport. I don't think people realize that we have, controls automation specialists. We have ground transportation specialists. We have electricians, plumbers, HVAC techs, building maintenance. You know, there's just so much within the organization that I don't think people even realize is there. And so I think a big emphasis should be on career exploration, where we're educating our kids and our future on what is there and what is available.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Brenda.
Kind of echo what you said, career exploration.
Okay.
Really,
Brenda.
within B, can you hear me?
Yes.
Within B, you know, I love what I heard today in regards to the middle schools and elementary. With our organization, the minimal age is 21 years old to work with us. So by the time you start working with someone at that level, the interest may not be there when they get to be 21 years old. But I have been on a lot of the CSN, I've been on a lot of the campuses, and I really want to hone in on people that are maybe towards 20 years old, and how can we better connect with those individuals. We also have positions that are for mechanics, all right, and how we can get them from mechanic C to B to the A level. So there's so much more to MB than just, you know, the driving the bus. And so that's what we want to do. Everything that I've heard here today, I've taken copious notes. We just need to connect the dots. That's
Yes.
what I need to do.
Yes, that's what this is about. Absolutely. So I heard you say again, career exploration, and for you specifically connecting to that population. Again, you heard me say it. We have almost 50,000 disconnected youth that we're targeting, which are between the ages of 16 and 24. So those 21 to 24 would be a good target for you. Dacia, two things or one.
It's me. First, in the spirit of inclusivity, can we change parents to another term like responsible adult?
Oh yeah, like sometimes it's grandparents. Or
Yeah, I mean, not
uncles.
everybody has a parent that they live with.
Gotcha.
So I think we need to be aware of that in our communities of what we're referring to, because that can be its own detriment.
Thank you.
Language is important.
Mhm.
I mean, I love the idea of career exploration. Like Brenda, I struggle with, I can't hire people right out of high school because there's some longevity of driving requirements for a lot of our roles. But I do want to find a way to do teacher externships. We attempted to do one last year with cybersecurity at CCSD, and it just, our busy time doesn't align with fall semester in the schools. But I do think we as employers have a responsibility to our community to help the teachers understand, because I agree, teachers are the ones that, whether it's middle school, high school, elementary school, college, you know, I can name most of my teachers all the way back to kindergarten, and most of my professors, and that's been a decade. So I think the connecting with teachers, and I'm looking at this from the employer standpoint, but also as a parent standpoint of, my son takes what his teachers say, and sometimes therefore doesn't listen to the parent, but I also think that's how we help teachers. That's how we help the students. That's how we help all of it, is if the teachers know what's out there, then they can help that kid figure it out, because I have no idea what my kid's going to do.
And that's why they're here, and that's why you heard about the Clark County School District Fellowship Program that we have going as well. What happened with Paul? Oh, Paul's at his mic. Okay, Paul, you're next. Give me one or two things.
I'm kind of small. I disappear easy. So for us, I think it'd be skills for new tech. If you look at the changes in our industry over the past 30 years, we've gone from paper and pencils and erasers to orders being electronically transmitted to us. We build the orders, we electronically send them to computers in the trucks where the drivers accept the task. They track their hours of service with computers in the trucks. We also have huge changes coming as far as what is going to be the energy source for our trucks in the future, and also automation. So for some of the older drivers, kind of these upskills and this new technology is very important. For us, it is probably the immediate need. You know, it's kind of a stupid question is, we spend a lot of time recruiting new companies to come to the state. And the first question they ask is, what's your skilled labor force like?
Yes.
We have a lot of advertising that Vegas is back open for business. Have we ever advertised, we got a ton of jobs in housing is half the price in Nevada as it is in California? Have we ever advertised that we're open for employees? And California passed a new legislation called AB5, where they outlawed independent contractors, mainly focused at Uber and Lyft, but it caught up hairdressers and court reporters and truck drivers. 70,000 truck drivers or independent contractors in California, which are now basically outlawed.
Yep.
You know, what can we do to say, hey, there's a lot of good driving jobs in Nevada and we're open. You can come this way, and that might help fill an immediate need.
Okay, so I heard his two things were the skills for new tech, but also the immediate need. Perfect. Alan and Cindy, you guys get, I don't know, 2 or 4, or do you get a few?
At least. I would say the upskills, and it's
This one at
mostly
the end,
because, it's the emerging technologies that we're facing today. There's a huge push towards zero emission vehicles, battery electrics. It's a lot of our current technicians are used to working with older technologies, and to some degree, there's a fear of the new technologies coming in. So as a secondary thing, I would say the internship as well, because with the past experience we had, the interns that came through working with our current workforce kind of re-energized some of the older technicians that we had. They started listening to what they were learning in school, and they started asking questions. How can we get this training? And so I think that it's a really good collaborative effort there. Both will build on each other, because what we really don't want to see is the loss of the experience that's already there with our seniors. It's invaluable. You can't count what that is going over to a young intern. But at the same time, having that young intern re-energize our current workforce.
Very good. Thank you, Alan.
That was beautiful, Alan.
Cindy, how do you?
Oh my God.
You have to top that, Cindy.
I know. I drew the short stick. I'm going last. Okay, so I agree that the skills for the new technology, which is gonna be hard though, in a sense, because it's an established industry, right? But you're trying to put a new face on it. And so from that perspective, and then also for me, career exploration. But more importantly, I think just from this group is how do we all stay connected, right? Because, for example, like Mary, you had mentioned, like we do summer internships like every summer. Like, how often do you have somebody reach out to you and say, hey, I have this great person, but you're like thinking, oh, what we're doing doesn't really necessarily fit, like it's not the right fit, right? Going back to what Brenda said, you have to find the right fit for the person for it to be for longevity, right? But now that we're here, right, how do we know when there are internships happening at the water district, or the apprentices programs that you have over at Nevada Power? How do we all continue to stay connected so that we can continue to be resources, not just for each other, to be resources for each other, not just looking out for our kind of own singular wheelhouse?
Thank you, Cindy. So yes, please give her a hand. So I think one of the things that I've heard say is, the purpose of this industry sector partnership is just, that's one of the things, right? To convene you, to identify common needs, to pull in our other partners to meet those needs. But I think even what you're saying, the staying together, collaborating, looking out for each other is part of it as well. So we include that in our mission as we move forward. Again, today I think is the first time we've gone over. I thought you guys were a shy group, but you finished strong. You took us over the 2 o'clock. But I do want to be respectful of your time because I know you have other things to do. So I want to thank each and every one of you. We're going to have some work. As you can see, we're going to do some accounting, some math. You're going to get an invite from us for a follow-up meeting. We'll call it the follow-up work group. Hopefully, if you can all attend, if you can assign somebody that's appropriate from your organization. But we're basically going to take all that we heard and say, here are the 1 or 2 things that this industry sector wants done. Here are the ones for this one. There's a list that's longer. When we get those done, we'll come back and get more, but that's the next step. So I'd like to please ask my teammates a big round of applause for these employers that came in here. Thank you. Brian. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day. You'll be hearing from us soon. Thank you. Oh, for my team. Yes, for my team. Thank you, Cecil. Thank you.